Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto has otsutsuki karma seal in high school DxD. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Shinobi Nexus, and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1, The History. Boom! Sounds of explosions engulf the whole battlefield. Dust flowing around and covering the current occupant of the field. With a mighty roar, the dust has cleared and showed the current occupants. A boy with golden blonde hair with 3 whisker marks on each cheeks, yellow eyes with cross-shaped pupil, and has a yellow cloak made of chakra with 6 black magatama markings on the front and back, with a rinnegan drawn on the top of the 9 magatamas behind his back. 9 black balls floating behind him, and he made 2 rods with those balls. This young man is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, son of Minato Namikaze the Yellow Flash and the son of Kushina Uzumaki the Red Death. His body is currently covered with the fox head's chakra avatar, who's now collecting positive and negative chakra to create a dark red spear inside its mouth. Once the spear is ready, the avatar closes its mouth and shoots the spear like a cannon. The spear is now about to hit its target, but suddenly, it just disappeared out of thin air like it didn't exist in the first place. The target was a woman who has pale skin, long white hair, and an eye with a red sclera and irises, a ripple pattern spreading over the eyeball and a maximum of 9 tomo on her forehead. She also has lavender eyes with no pupil, and 2 large horns that give her the look of a rabbit. She also wears a white kimono with red patterns on its dress. Despite her beautiful looks, she is actually a very old being that existed during the 6 Paths era. In fact, it's her who gave birth to 2 children, Hagoromo Otsutsuki, the sage of the 6 Paths, and Himura Otsutsuki, the younger brother of the sage of the 6 Paths. The person I was talking about is Kagaya Otsutsuki, the mother of all chakras. But during her era, she used to be feared among all nations. People gave her many titles, but among all of them, she is commonly known as the Rabbit Goddess. When she was the leader of the whole world, she made a ritual that the chosen people needed to sacrifice their soul to the Shinju so it could protect them from any evil. Obviously she's a goddess and everyone believed it, but what they didn't know is that their body will be turned into a creature known as White Setsu. One day, Hagoromo and Himura decided to check the Shinju since it was very suspicious, and what they found shocked them to their core. Around the branches of the Shinju, there are a lot of people wrapped around a cocoon. In one particular cocoon, there was a young woman who Hagoromo dearly loved but couldn't confess because of being chosen to sacrifice its life to the Shinju. Now seeing her in this state, Hagoromo couldn't help but cry his heart out and mourn for his love. After mourning for a bit, he angrily opened his eyes and something unexpected happened. His once lavender eyes now turned into red eyes with 1 black pupil in the center. Not only that, but 1 magatama also appeared on each eyes. But it didn't stop there. The 1 magatama in his eyes started to spin around the center, and slowly, another magatama appeared around the pupil. But it didn't stop there either. The magatama kept spinning and evolved further. The 2 magatama kept spinning faster and faster, and then, another one appeared around the pupil, making it 3 magatama spinning around the center. After that, the magatamas stopped spinning and stayed there around the center. Hagoromo was mad, so mad that he didn't even suppress his killer intent, which made Himura sweat in fear. When Hagoromo looked at Himura, he swore that if looks could kill, he would have died 100 times before he could even blink. After the incident of finding out about the true reasons for the ritual, Hagoromo and Himura requested Kagaya to stop the ritual of sacrificing soul to the Shinju. But Kagaya didn't even acknowledge their request, and just said to not bring the subject ever again. After that, Hagoromo decided to not bring the subject, and trained to gain more strength to match Kagaya in an upcoming battle. While Hagoromo is training, Himura decided to stay with Kagaya and try to give Hagoromo as much time as possible. After the Senjutsu training, Hagoromo decided to go back home as quickly as possible to not raise any suspicions. But luck wasn't on Hagoromo's side since he had to fight his brother who was controlled by Kagaya. After giving a fatal blow on Himura's chest, Hagoromo closed his eyes and shed some tears. Then, he opened his eyes and his once red eyes now turned purple. The 3 magatamas slowly started to spin, and then, the magatamas on his eyes slowly stretched out and took a ripple pattern that spreads over the eyeball. When his eyes finally finished evolving into something else, Hagoromo quickly placed Himura down, and used a special tag seal to heal him. After finishing healing Himura, they both fought Kagaya and the Jubi for days. After days of restless fighting, Hagoromo and Himura finally defeated Kagaya by sealing her on the moon and sealed the Jubi inside himself. But before he died, he used his Rinnegan's special ability, the creation of all things, to split the Jubi into 9 different entities. And that's how the Sage of the 6 Paths was born. Now after some centuries, Kagaya was resurrected during a war known as the 4th Great Ninja War. The war started when a man with an orange mask appeared on a Kage summit. He was requesting, or more like demanding, from the Kages to hand over the 2 entities made from the Jubi, the Hachibi and the Kyubi. But when the Kages refused to hand over the Bijus, the man declared war against the 5 great nations. During the war, Madara Uchiha, one of the founders of the Hidden Leaf Village, was resurrected to fight against the allied shinobi forces. When someone wants to describe what is annihilation and destruction, then Madara Uchiha is a perfect example. When Madara joined the war, the only thing that happened was pure annihilation and destruction, which can even put all the bijus to shame. No one could stop this beast known as Madara. Between the war, the Jubi was resurrected by sealing all the tailed beast inside the Gedo Mazo. Well, not all, just a portion of Hachibi's and Kyubi's chakra. And after that, the fake Madara, who's now known as Obito Uchiha, Kakashi's old friend, became the Jinchuriki of the Jubi. Thanks to Naruto and Sasuke, all the bijus got free, and all thanked Naruto for freeing them from Obito. But their freedom wasn't for long, since the real Madara was brought back to life and sealed all the bijus inside the Gedo Mazo again. And after that, he became the next Jinchuriki of the Jubi. If he was a beast before, then you don't even want to know what he is right now. When Madara was brought back to life, he killed Sasuke for getting in his way and Naruto by extracting the half of Kyubi from him, and the other half of Kyubi is currently sealed inside his resurrected Edo Tensei father. Between life and death, Naruto and Sasuke went to an unknown subconscious where they meet the legend, the sage of the six paths and the creator of Nishu. After giving some history lessons to Naruto and Sasuke and also telling them that they're his two sons' reincarnation, Hagoromo gave Naruto the six paths young power and Sasuke the six paths yin power. He also helped Sasuke to awaken one Rinnegan on his left eye and Naruto to awaken the six paths sage power, which he likes to call it six paths sage mode. After that, they have awakened from their temporary slumber and went to Madara to stop him for good. While Naruto and Sasuke were having their temporary nap, Madara was fighting against Might Guy with his 8 inner gates opened. Before Might Guy's 8th gate's opening, Madara was just stomping everyone. But when Guy opened his 8th gate, Madara was outmatched for a moment, but after outspeeding and giving many blows to Madara, Guy's life force is fading faster, and he's on his last legs. Madara spit some blood from his mouth, and stood proudly declaring that, among all shinobis he fought in his life, Guy is the strongest of them all. Guy didn't care and focused his chakra and released all of them at once, causing his chakra to burst out of his body and take the form of a dragon. Then after that, Guy suddenly disappeared and appeared right in front of Madara in a blink of an eye, kicking him hard right on the chest while engulfing him inside the dragon. But after all that, Madara still survived, but barely. While Guy is lying down, almost dead, when Madara was about to finish Guy completely with a true seeking orb, Naruto came flying and kicked the orb away from Guy. After using the six paths yang power to heal Guy, Naruto attacked Madara by punching him right on the gut, but was blocked when Madara used the Shikujo staff. Even though he blocked the punch, he still got hit by the kinetic force that was created by Naruto's punch, and he didn't stop there. He used his newfound power to make a lava-style Rasen Shuriken and was about to throw at Madara, but he quickly moved away from Naruto, hoping to dodge the attack but failed when Naruto jumped right back in front of him. When he saw Naruto following right behind him, he used his limbo to at least slow him down, but he sensed it from miles away and quickly dodged the limbo while throwing the Shuriken at the same time, causing it to not only cut Madara but also the Shinju. Madara absorbed the Shinju while healing at the same time. At that time Sasuke appeared besides Naruto and fought against Madara. Between the fight, Madara used the infinite Tsukuyami and captured all the shinobis inside it except Team 7 and the Edo Tensei people. At that time, Madara thought he won, but things went south for him when Black Zetsu backstabbed him and resurrected the mother of all chakra, the rabbit goddess. When Naruto and Sasuke saw her, they couldn't believe that someone like her existed. And like that, they fought against Kaguya while Kaguya shifted dimension after dimension and used other attacks to keep them away from each other, since they both need to touch her to seal her away. And now from here, the battle continued. Chapter 2, Rabbit Goddess's Final Move. Battle continued. Kaguya Otsutsuki. The rabbit goddess absorbed the energy blast known as the tailed beast bomb like it's nothing. Naruto gritted his teeth in frustration. No matter what they throw at her, she either absorbs the attack or counters it with an attack of her own. Sasuke Uchiha, the last survivor of the Uchiha clan, is currently standing right beside Naruto with his purple Susanoo armor active. Naruto! Listen, I need you to throw as many of those shurikens as you can at once. We need to somehow overpower her and look for an opening to place the seal on her. Naruto nodded and quickly put his 2 fingers together, making a cross sign, and summoned 9 shadow clones to create 1 Rasen Shuriken each with the tailed beast's chakra, encoding it, making them the deadliest technique in existence. After creating 9 Rasen Shurikens with each beast's chakra, all Narutos threw the Rasen Shuriken with a battle cry. Take this super tailed beast Rasen Shuriken. All 9 Rasen Shurikens sailed towards Kaguya in a fast speed which completely took her off guard. The shurikens are radiating so much power that when she got hit by them, she couldn't absorb all the energy and got blasted by the dome of the explosion. When the smoke cleared, Kaguya's body took so much damage that her body got unstable and almost transformed into a 10-tailed rabbit. While Kaguya is trying to control her unstable body, Naruto and Sasuke saw the opening and quickly rushed towards her to place the seal. Soon she got her control back, but suddenly, she felt 2 pairs of hands on her breast, one from left and one from right. Both Naruto and Sasuke got very confused. 1 second they were about to touch the hip of the almost transformed rabbit beast, and then next, they are now touching something round, something warm, something soft. Both of their brains shut down and didn't function properly for a moment, and were absolutely clueless about the situation. To investigate further, both Naruto and Sasuke looked at each other for a brief moment, having a silent conversation before giving each other a nod. They then gave an experimental squeeze before suddenly, they heard something that will stuck in their mind for eternity. A moan. They heard a fucking moan from the rabbit goddess. Both Naruto and Sasuke's eyes almost bugged out of their socket after hearing the molesting sound of pleasure. No one moved a single inch after that scene. They froze, like a popsicle, like winter just hit them and froze them on their spot. It has been 1 minute, but for them, it's like a millennium has passed. After that scene, surprisingly it was Naruto who recovered first and leaned forward to wake Sasuke from his stupor. Poke, 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 poke. Sasuke didn't register at first, but after some more poking, he finally looked at Naruto with his widened eyes, still stuck in his fantasy. Naruto just sighed. If this weren't so serious, he would have laughed and made fun of him. But now it's not the time, and he knows that very well. So he raised his hand and slapped him so hard that his hand printed on his right cheek, which woke him up completely from his stupor. When he finally registered what happened, he glared at Naruto for slapping him hard. A loser! Why the hell did you do that for? Naruto gave another sigh and glared him back. Bastard! Did you forget what we were about to do before this database? He said the last part with a huge blush while pointing a finger to her chest. With widened eyes, Sasuke slowly followed his finger, and saw something that many perverts would die just to see this. Sasuke's eyes almost bugged out again when he saw her breathing and panting while still moaning in pleasure. When he heard her moan, he quickly looked away and blushed like a red tomato. Shut up, I didn't forget about that. I was just shocked, that's all. Naruto snored at hearing his excuse while Sasuke just scoffed. They then quickly shook their heads and glared at Kagaya with red cheeks. Granny Rabbit! This is the end. Naruto said with a grin while still blushing. Now perish from existence. Sasuke said with a stoic face while blushing as well. 6 paths planetary devastation. They both said in unison. Before Kagaya could register what happened, she started to fly to the sky while getting smashed between large boulders and rocks. She started to attract everything like a magnet, like she is the center of a mass gravity itself. Not only that, but her chakra also started to deplete at a rapid pace. After a few seconds later, Kagaya finally understood what happened and blushed red in embarrassment. I lost against 2 perverts and in a very humiliating way. No, I will not accept this. She then glared at them with as much hatred as possible. Indra, assure you both won the fight, but you haven't won the war. She said so loud that they could hear her even through the sound of rumbling rocks. Naruto widened his eyes but then looked at her with narrowed eyes. What do you mean we haven't won the war? Kagaya smirked before grimaced in pain when all the 9-tailed beasts forcefully ripped out of her body and descended towards the ground where Naruto and Sasuke are standing. Even through pain, she still gave him a cruel smirk before her Rinna Sharingan blazed with power. Remember, Ashura, the one who defeats a god cannot remain an individual. You are powerful, even more powerful than Indra, but you're not powerful enough to stop the upcoming destruction on your world. She gave her last words before her entire body covered by boulders and rocks, and slowly, it took the shape of a moon. Naruto and Sasuke just stared at the now newly created moon with many thoughts on their mind. Naruto, who's now staring at the moon with widened eyes and thought. Destruction? What the heck is she talking about? He asked, particularly to no one but himself. While Naruto was thinking, Sasuke stared at the moon with extreme anger. No, calling it anger would be an understatement. He is furious, extremely furious, like an active volcano that has just erupted and wanted to destroy everything on its path. And currently, Naruto is standing right there. This fool, this idiot is stronger than me? I don't believe it. No, I will prove that I am the strongest. That I'm the one and only strongest shinobi alive. Before Naruto and Sasuke could continue their thoughts, they and the rest of the beasts suddenly disappeared from the dimension with a puff of smoke. Original dimension. Poof. Everyone blinked and started to look at each other with anticipation and confusion. Welcome back, everyone. Everyone suddenly heard someone's voice from behind them and looked at Hagoromo with surprise. Super Gigi, but how? Before Naruto could ask, Hagoromo stopped him by raising his hand and said only 2 words. Reverse summoning. Naruto slightly widened his eyes and nodded in understanding. He was about to open his mouth to ask more questions, but a high-pitched voice, which made all the tailed beasts cringe in disgust, suddenly interrupted him. Sasuke-kun! You are back! To Sasuke's irritation, a certain pink-haired kunoichi, no, not a kunoichi, a howler monkey screeched while hugging Sasuke from behind. Sasuke growled in annoyance. Sakura, get off me right now! Sasuke yelled while the howler monkey, now named Sakura, didn't give a shit, and continued to hug him tighter, which made his skin turn blue. Naruto, who was watching all this, barked out in laughter. Ha 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 ha. While Naruto was laughing, the tailed beast looked at the last Uchiha with pity. Before anyone could do anything, they heard Kakashi's voice and stopped what they were doing. Is it just me? Or the moon is actually getting bigger and bigger? When they heard what Kakashi said, everyone except Sasuke widened their eyes and quickly glanced at the moon. When Kurama looked at the moon, he got absolutely horrified at realizing what's happening. Hagoromo also caught on to him, and realized what's happening. The moon eyes. Everyone stared at Kurama with widened eyes. They never saw this side of Kurama, so horrified and scared. What's going on, Kurama? What happened? Naruto asked with a bit frantic tone. Kurama didn't say anything and just stared at the moon with that horrified expression. The moon is not getting larger, it's getting closer. It was Hagoromo who answered. Everyone stared at Hagoromo like he grew a second head. I mean no disrespect, Sage-sama, but what do you mean that the moon is getting closer? Kakashi asked with a respectful tone. Before Hagoromo could further explain, Sasuke beat him to it. It's Kaguya. Now everyone is staring at Sasuke, who just ignored and further elaborate. When I and Naruto finally managed to seal Kaguya in a really awkward situation, Naruto and Sasuke both blushed, which no one noticed except Kakashi, who's eyeing them in suspicion. Sasuke quickly shook his head and continued, trying to not remember the scene and fighting through his blush. When we finally used the seal on Kaguya, before she could fully get sealed, I saw her using a huge amount of chakra on the eye on her forehead, and she said some few words. He said the last part with venom. When everyone heard his voice, they raised an eyebrow while Naruto widened his eyes in realization. So that's the destruction she was talking about. Now everyone, including Kurama, looked at Naruto in confusion. When Naruto saw the confusion on everyone except Sasuke, he further elaborated. Granny Rabbit's last word was, the one who defeats a god cannot stay an individual. She also said that I'm strong but not strong enough to stop the upcoming destruction on our world. When she said destruction on our world, I think that's what she meant. He then pointed a finger at the moon. Hagoromo now understood what happened. I see. So Mother used her space-time jutsu to push the moon towards our world. Her plan was to destroy the world by crashing the moon, which will cause a huge explosion, far greater than the 10 tailed beast bomb, and will cause many natural disasters which will slowly destroy the world. When everyone except Naruto, Sasuke and Kurama heard the explanation, they widened their eyes and fearfully looked at the approaching moon that's about to destroy their world. Naruto looked at Hagoromo with desperation. Super Gigi, isn't there any way to stop the moon? To be continued. Chapter 3. Control the beasts with one glance. Continue. Super Gigi, isn't there any way to stop the moon? A desperate Naruto asked Hagoromo, the sage of the 6 paths. Hagoromo shook his head and was about to answer, but suddenly, a purple arrow made of chakra sailed towards Naruto at a fast speed which almost took him off guard. When Naruto noticed the purple arrow from the corner of his eye, he immediately moved his head to the side and let the arrow pass him, while only a strand of hair got cut. The first time he saw the arrow, he immediately understood who's the cause of this. Naruto looked at Sasuke with his second stage Susanoo active. Sasuke! What the hell are you doing? Naruto shouted with narrowed eyes. Sasuke's eyes were covered by his bangs and didn't show any emotions. At first he was quiet, but suddenly, his shoulders started to shake. Slowly and slowly, his shoulders shook even more before he moved his head upwards and burst out into a wicked laughter. Ha 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 ha! Naruto silently growled in annoyance. What's so damn god funny, bastard? Before he knew it, Sasuke made a purple energy blade and swung at Sakura, who was hugging the life out of him a minute ago, but quickly moved away when she saw his Susanoo flaring up to life. With one quick swing, Sakura's head got separated from her shoulder in an instant, and dropped to the ground with a thud. Then, her body followed and dropped to the ground in a dramatic way with a thud. Silence. It was silent before it was broken by Kakashi. Sakura! He quickly rushed to her now dead body and kneeled down, while looking at it with widened eyes and trembling hands. Sasuke scoffed and looked at Naruto with a menacing grin, while his eyes were still overshadowed by his hair. If anything, he looked like a real demon, an abomination. Ah, finally that annoying bitch is gone. He then pointed his Susanoo blade at Naruto with a menacing grin. Now since that bitch is out of the way, we can finally set our scores and see who's the strongest. Naruto didn't say anything. He froze, not a single muscle has moved. His eyes have widened so much that if he doesn't stop, it might pop out of his socket. He was standing still, not even moving an inch while still staring at the grinning Sasuke. A few seconds later, Naruto's head slowly dropped, and his yellow bangs covered his eyes. Suddenly, a thunder has struck behind Naruto, engulfing him in the flash of light for a moment before it died down, and revealed a glaring Naruto. Sasuke's grin got even wider when he saw a glaring Naruto, whose glare was directed right at him. He quickly brought the third stage Susanoo, the perfect Susanoo, which took the form of a colossal armored warrior, standing several stories tall. It has a humanoid shape, with a muscular build and a majestic presence. The color scheme of the Susanoo typically consists of dark shades of purple, giving it a mysterious and ominous aura. With his now fully built perfect Susanoo, he immediately rushed towards Naruto with his twin blades on both hands, looking forward to cut him in half. When he got closer, he spun his hand and went for a diagonal slash from top to bottom. When the massive blade finally made contact, rocks and dirt exploded upwards and created a massive crater under the blade. Sasuke thought that he managed to slice him in half, but unfortunately, he couldn't be more wrong. When the dust finally cleared, he saw Naruto standing right under his blade without even flinching. Sasuke was puzzled at thinking how Naruto stopped his blade. He then squinted his eyes and suddenly widened it when he saw how Naruto stopped his blade. With Naruto, when he saw the blade were aiming to slice through his left shoulder all the way to his right hip, he quickly brought his left hand up and grabbed the massive blade with pure strength, which will put a certain blonde Hokage's strength to shame. But thanks to the kinetic energy of the blade, it caused a large crater around him, while it forced his 2 feet to plant 1 centimeter underground, and hold the blade with a sharp grip at the same time. Naruto slowly looked up and glared at the shocked-faced Sasuke. He then did something that shocked Sasuke to his core. He gripped the blade even more tighter, and cracks started to form on the edge. But that's not the thing that made Sasuke so shocked. What made him so shocked is that Naruto totally shattered the energy blade into millions of small particles. When the blade shattered, it also caused an explosion which made Sasuke tumble a few steps back. But before he knew it, a golden light emerged from the dust cloud and disappeared with a golden flash. Then suddenly, that same golden flash appeared right in front of the Susanu's stomach, and kicked it so hard that it caused the Susanu to flow straight towards the mountains with a yellow stream trailing behind, and crashed into one of the mountain, causing a huge crater to appear. Right at the top of the now laid, half-destroyed Susanu, appeared the golden flash with golden chakra surrounding it. Slowly, the golden chakra dissipates and reveals Naruto with his 6-path sage power, and tailed beast chakra mode active, with 9 truth-seeking orbs floating behind him. Sasuke was shocked, so shocked that he couldn't even mutter a word and just stared at the golden blonde with wide eyes and a slightly gaping mouth. His gaze then slowly went towards his Susanu's torso, and his eyes widened even more when he saw the right side of the torso is destroyed. He slowly looked at Naruto and glared at him. Incredible! What ridiculous strength! He looked at the torso again and then back to Naruto. He didn't only block my blade with one hand, but his kick was also so strong that it broke the Susanu's defense. I need to be careful or else I might lose this battle, he thought while slowly lifting himself up and pumped more chakra to fix the Susanu's broken defense. Bones appeared and were covered by muscles and skin, and last was covered by an armor plate which fully fixed the defense. Naruto saw Sasuke slowly getting up and was about to go through the tailed beast transformation, but suddenly, a shout caused Naruto to stop for a moment and glance behind through his shoulder to see who was the cause of it. Naruto! Wait! Multiple voices shouted from behind and rushed towards Naruto. Naruto raised an eyebrow when he saw all the tailed beasts came, and stood right beside him while glaring holes through Sasuke's skull. Guys, what are you doing here? You are not supposed to interfere, this is our battle, and we need to settle some scores between us. He then looked back at Sasuke. So you should go and stay out of this. Before Naruto could transform, he was stopped again by Matatabi. Listen, Naruto-kun, we are here to lend you a hand in this battle. Naruto looked at Matatabi with a shocked face. What? No, you don't have to. Remember, this is not your battle. This is my. Before he could finish his sentence, he was cut off by Shikaku. Bullshit, this is not only your battle but ours too. After all, you're one of us and we will never leave our siblings behind. Everyone stared at him with wide eyes and a gaping mouth. Shikaku noticed the stares and looked at them with a raised, sandy-looking eyebrow. What? Why are you all staring at me like that? It was Goku who answered. I never knew you can say something so nice, he said while scratching his head with one of his tails. Shikaku's sweat dropped. Seriously, is it really that unusual? Everyone nodded in unison. When he saw everyone nod, he shouted in annoyance. Hey! I can be nice sometimes when I want to be, you know? Everyone didn't say anything for a moment before bursting out into laughter. While everyone is laughing, Naruto is still trying to process what Shikaku said before. Sibling? He said it quietly, but it was still heard by everyone. Everyone stopped laughing and looked at Naruto. You all are already considering me as your sibling? He said with a shocked tone and a teary eye. Yes, we do. Isuba said with conviction. The one who carries the will of the old man will always be considered as our family. This time, it was Kurama who said it. The rest of the tailed beast said yeah in unison. After those words, Naruto couldn't hold any longer and quickly looked away to hide his tears. He slowly wiped them with the back of his sleeves and gave a happy smile. Before Naruto could say anything, Sasuke interrupted him with his laughter. Ha 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 ha. Oh, how sweet. I never imagined that you tailed beasts are so affectionate towards your siblings. The beasts just glared at him, which he simply ignored. He then looked at them and gave them a cruel smirk. But you know what? I don't care. He then frowned and glared at them. You all are standing on my way. This battle is between me and him, not you tailed beasts. So get out of my sight and don't interfere with our battle. Kurama got pissed and roared at him. It's you who's standing in our way. The moon is approaching our world and we need to find a way to stop it, or else it will crash and destroy everything in this world, and everything will wipe out of the existence. Sasuke just moved his head upwards and laughed maniacally. Ha 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 ha. Oh god, just how stupid can you be? He then pressed his lips in a thin line. Just as I said, I don't care. Now move or else. Sasuke was cut off by Kurama. Or else what, you Uchiha bastard? He charged at Sasuke with an impressive speed while preparing for a tailed beast bomb. Before he could get closer, Sasuke gave a small grin while his Rinnegan blazed with power. Suddenly, Kurama stopped and the tailed beast bomb disappeared with the black and red particles. Not only Kurama but also the other tailed beast also stopped moving and just stared at space. Naruto was about to stop Kurama, but he stopped himself when he noticed Kurama's behavior. With curiosity, Naruto went closer to Kurama and saw 2 glowing Rinnegan on each eye. He widened his eyes and looked back to see the same thing happening to others. When he saw what happened, he shouted, Guys! Chapter 4. Sasuke's new Susanoo transformation. Guys! Naruto shouted when he saw the other tailed beasts are also put into genjutsu. Sasuke had an amused smirk on his face. Or maybe, I can use them to my advantage. Naruto heard him, and widened his eyes at realizing what his former best friend is planning to do. Sasuke brought his hands together in a serpent sign and shouted. Planetary devastation. Suddenly, all the tailed beasts slowly floated towards the sky, and each of them started to pull everything in their vicinity, and created 9 asteroids which held every tailed beast each. Naruto didn't say anything and just stared at the floating asteroids that contained all the tailed beasts inside. He then slowly brought up his gaze to Sasuke and glared at him. Sasuke just smirked and started to fly towards the sky. Naruto saw this and got ready. He quickly brought his Kurama avatar mode, which looks like a giant golden fox with 9 tails swinging behind it. Sasuke saw his avatar mode and got ready, with a Chidori on his Susanoo's left hand. Naruto saw the Chidori and quickly charged a tail beast bomb between the avatar's jaw. When both saw each other's respective attacks, they both gave a battle cry and charged at each other. Sasuke dive bombed at Naruto with the Chidori while Naruto jumped towards Sasuke with the tail beast bomb. Slowly, their attacks got closer and closer and then, boom! The two attacks collided with each other and created a huge explosion, while engulfing them at the same time. When the explosion was finally cleared, it showed 2 almost destroyed avatars floating against each other. For a moment, it was silent. But then, the silence was broken by both Naruto and Sasuke's battle cry when they both charged at each other once more. Sasuke preparing his energy blade while Naruto brought both hands forward to block it. Sasuke went for a vertical slash but Naruto stopped it by grabbing it with both hands. He then let go of his blade, and ducked down to thrust and strike a Chidori on its chest. While Naruto's hands are in the air, he still managed to stop the attack by smacking its hand away with one of its tail. When the Chidori got passed through his right side, he quickly tossed the blade and spun around to give him an elbow strike to its jaw. The elbow connected on the Susanoo's left jaw and sent him flying towards the ground. But Naruto didn't stop there and dive bombed at Sasuke. Sasuke crashed on the ground with his Susanoo's left jaw destroyed. When he saw Naruto dive bombing at him, he fired multiple fireballs to damage him and slow him down. But unfortunately, Naruto swiftly dodged all of the fireballs and pinned Sasuke on the ground. His back is facing the ground while Naruto stood at the top of him while charging a tail beast bomb on its mouth. For a moment, both stared at each other's eyes and saw many flashbacks on their mind. They saw their childhood memories and saw their own suffering. Sasuke, who was castrated by the villagers for being Itachi's brother, a criminal's brother who slaughtered his own clan. They despised him for Itachi's action. They also gave him the nickname, Kin of the Betrayer. And then Naruto, who was castrated by the villagers for being Kurama's Jinchuriki, the 9 Tails Jinchuriki. They despised him for Kurama's attack on the village on the day of his birth. They also gave him the nickname, Demon Fox Reincarnate. When their flashbacks ended, Naruto looked at Sasuke with a sad yet sympathetic expression. Sad because not only him but Sasuke also had to go through all those hardships. Sympathetic because he sympathized with him, since both had a rough childhood. While Sasuke didn't show any emotions, from inside he's feeling sad, sympathetic, guilty, and happy at the same time. He felt sad and sympathetic because of the same reasons. He felt guilty because if the circumstances were different, they could have become more than best friends. They could have become brothers. Not the brothers of blood and name, but the brothers of hardships and pain. And he felt happy because Naruto was the only one who didn't give up on him. Everyone gave up on him, but Naruto was the only one who didn't. He is the only one who wanted him to come back and grow their bonds. And he was the only one who wanted them to be like brothers, but it was too late. He quickly squashed those feelings and brought up his dark side. He grinned. When Naruto saw his grin, he got alert but unexpectedly, he got struck by the lightning dragon who was biting the avatar on the neck. Sasuke whispered. Kirin. Then he used the Heavenly Hands technique to switch places with the floating rock. Naruto got paralyzed temporarily. He couldn't move a muscle. When the dragon saw some resistance from him, it bit him harder and exploded in a brilliant bright pillar of blue light, with lightning crackling around it. When the pillar of light dissipated, it showed a paralyzed Naruto, slightly gazing towards Sasuke's Susanoo. Sasuke didn't show any emotions and had a straight face. Sasuke, please, we can still stop this. If we work together we can. Before he could finish his sentence, he was cut off by Sasuke. Naruto, do you remember when we were kids? Naruto hesitated for a moment but nodded. Yeah, I do. He gave a sad smile at remembering all those memories from childhood. Sasuke closes his eyes for a second before opening it again. Then why? Why do you want to save this world? This world has shown us its worst. It's all thanks to this world that we have suffered. If you still remember all the pain that the villager gave us, that the world gave us, then why do you still want to save it? Naruto didn't answer immediately and closed his eyes. A few moments later, he opened them again, and stared directly at Sasuke with conviction. Sasuke, I know the pain and darkness we've both faced. The world has shown us its worst, but that's not all there is to it. Sasuke wanted to interject but stopped himself for the favor of at least hearing him out. Besides the darkness, I've seen kindness in this world, the strength of will to overcome any obstacle, and the bonds of friendship that can change fate. Sasuke is listening with rapt attention. Sasuke, I want to save the world because I believe in the potential of every person to be better, to grow, and to find happiness. We've suffered, yes, but if it wasn't for those suffering, we wouldn't be who we are right now. Sasuke's eyes are now covered by his bangs. Not only that, but it's our choices that can shape a future worth living for everyone. I refuse to give up on that hope, and I'll fight to protect it, fight to protect everyone's future, fight to protect the new generation, and fight to protect the future kings, the children of future generations. After hearing that, Sasuke couldn't help but feel a bit envy at Naruto's unwavering conviction. Even though he felt envy, it doesn't mean that he would believe in those words, no matter how noble it sounds. He will stick to his own philosophy and make it a reality. Sasuke gave a frustrated sigh. He then shook his head and stared at Naruto's sky-blue eyes with disappointment. You are naive, Naruto, you are naive. That kind of thinking will always drag you to failure. This world won't understand the meaning of pain unless someone shows it to it. This world needs salvation. He then looked at the very close moon with a dreamy look. That moon will be the start of salvation. And you will not, and cannot stop it. He then stared at Naruto with one hand seal. You will not stop it, and I will make sure of that. After those words, all the asteroids that contained the beasts flew towards Sasuke, and surrounded him in a circle formation, keeping him in the middle. Then suddenly, all the asteroids started to leak blue energy and flew towards Sasuke's Susanoo, like a floating water stream, and soon got absorbed. Naruto couldn't tell what exactly he was doing, but suddenly, he sensed Sasuke's powers spiked up to a wholly new level. Naruto couldn't tell what was going on, but he knew one thing: he needs to stop holding back. He quickly made 5 shadow clones, with Kurama's chakra avatar covering them. When Sasuke finally finished absorbing the energy, his Susanoo suddenly released all the energy, and engulfed in a blue pillar of light. Thanks to the kinetic force, the asteroids got repelled and scattered into different places. When the asteroids got repelled and the blue pillar of energy dissipated, it revealed a totally new Susanoo with blue thunderbolts crackling around it. The whole inner body is made of pure chakra with the color of blue. The blue body is currently covered by the purple armor, while only his hands and face are exposed. It only had a small amount of armor plates on the arms and wrists. In other words, the Susanoo is absolutely incredible. Naruto slightly gaped at seeing the new form of the Susanoo. Chapter 5. Naruto finally stopped holding back. Subconscious. Kurama didn't want to admit, but he was very impressed. This is a big problem. He is just as good as the old man's 6 paths. He thought before looking at Naruto, but this brat is even more impressive than both the Uchiha and the old man's 6 paths. If he only stops holding back. Real world. Naruto stopped gaping and took a serious face. Sasuke brought his hands forward and created a lightning staff. He then smirked and rushed towards Naruto with a battle cry. Everyone get ready. Naruto barked at his clones. All of his clones nodded to him and got ready. Sasuke used the Heavenly Hands technique and switched places with one of the clones in a blink of an eye. He got in the middle of the clones and the original, and started to brutally swing his lightning staff. When they sensed a slight shift in space, everyone quickly moved from the spot and dodged the brutal swing from his staff. Everyone moved except for one clone who couldn't dodge in time and got caught between the swing and went flying towards the ground, causing a big crater to appear. Before the clone could take his bearings, a lightning arrow struck in the avatar's mouth, effectively dispelling it out of existence. When they saw the lightning arrow, they quickly looked at Sasuke, who was holding a bow made of lightning. The original didn't rush. Instead, he sent his clones to figure out how to stop Sasuke. The remaining clones rushed towards Sasuke and attacked from different angles, but nothing could even put a single dent on the Susanoo. The clones retrieved back and each prepared a tail beast bomb on its mouth. Seeing this, Sasuke snored in amusement. With his lightning bow, he created 3 lightning arrows and shot them at the clones. The clones also shot the beast bombs at the same time. But unfortunately, the arrow pierced through the beast bombs and struck all the clones at the same time, dispelling them immediately. Now the only one left is the original one. Sasuke looked at the original and smirked. I knew from the start that you were weak. Relying on your shadow clones all the time. Those copies are nothing but the symbol of your weakness. Naruto didn't say anything and just stared at him. Sasuke then smirked. Let me show you what true strength is. He then brought his bow forward, and concentrated a lot of chakra in a single spot, specifically in the middle of the bow. When the concentrated chakra further expanded, it created a gigantic arrow made of lightning. When Naruto saw the gigantic arrow, he sensed a lot of power coming from it. The arrow itself is shooting thunderbolts. Like the lightning itself has taken the form of a gigantic arrow. Sasuke's smirk grew even wider when he saw Naruto's shocked expression. See Naruto, this is true strength. Now behold Indra's arrow. Naruto couldn't help but grit his teeth in frustration. So you won't stop until you kill me, huh? He muttered to himself. He then closed his eyes and opened them again. Fine, then I will respond with full power as well. Sasuke didn't understand what he meant, but soon he realized that something was wrong. When Naruto opened his eyes, he signaled his shadow clone to disperse. The same shadow clone that Sasuke used to switch places with. When the clone disappeared, it transferred all the natural energy that he collected to Naruto. For a moment, nothing happened. When Sasuke saw nothing was happening, he started to laugh like a maniac. He was about to make a comment, but suddenly, Naruto burst into a golden flame and was engulfed by the golden pillar of light. When the golden light disappeared, it revealed Naruto in a new avatar form. The avatar looks like a humanoid fox with samurai armor, with 3 heads and 3 hands. All 9 tails are swinging behind it. When the transformation is finished, it was time for Sasuke to gape at seeing the new avatar form. Naruto didn't waste any time and shot his hands upwards to create 2 different Rasen shurikens. One of them looks like a purple spear and the other one looks like a yellow spear with wind blades spinning around them at a very fast speed. It's like the blades are trying to cut the fabric of space itself. When Kurama saw Naruto's new avatar form, he couldn't help but drop his jaw to the ground in astonishment. Holy shit! Calling this impressive would be an understatement. It's absolutely incredible. It feels like this whole body is made of nature itself. What incredible control over nature energy. He picked up his jaw and grinned proudly. Look at this, he is not even using my chakra to maintain this form. It's like a pure manifestation of his chakra and nature. Like he and nature are one being. Sasuke couldn't believe what he was seeing. Naruto, who was struggling to fight him at first, now revealed a new transformation that might be even more stronger than his own transformation. Sasuke gritted his teeth in frustration. So much power, I doubt that even Kage is capable of doing this. He has so much control over nature that it's not even funny. No, I will not lose to this fool. I will prove it. He angrily thought before releasing the arrow, which sailed towards Naruto at a lightning speed. When Naruto saw the arrow, he quickly threw the shurikens with the battle cry. Take this, Ultra Big Ball Rasen Shuriken. The 2 shurikens are now sailing towards the arrow at a fast speed. Slowly, the shurikens and the arrow were coming closer and closer, and then, bang! Both shurikens and the arrow clashed against each other, causing an enormous explosion which engulfed both fighter at the same time. The explosion created a powerful hurricane which sucked everything in its vicinity. A few moments later, the hurricane finally calmed down and revealed 2 avatars still floating in the sky. The humanoid fox avatar is standing perfectly, but the same thing cannot be said for the Susanoo. The Susanoo is barely maintaining its form. Almost half of its side is destroyed. Suddenly, the Susanoo started to vanish and before Sasuke could fall, he slowly descended to the ground with his Susanoo wings. When Naruto saw Sasuke's Susanoo slowly disappearing, he decided to retrieve his new Kurama avatar form as well, and decided to float in the air to look at the asteroids that contained all the tailed beasts. Once he properly located them, he quickly created 9 Rasen shurikens and threw them at the asteroids, freeing all the tailed beasts from their prison. When the tailed beasts got free, the Rinnegan from their eyes disappeared, and caused them to wake up. Once they are on the ground, they quickly rushed towards the floating Naruto to help. But after coming closer, they saw it defeated, stuck up in the ass of an Uchiha panting on the ground. They looked at Naruto with pride and joy. Sun gave him a pat on the back for good job well done, which almost knocked his breath out. Matatabi also gave him a pat but much more gentler than Sun's. Kurama just gave him a fist bump with a proud grin. Before everyone could celebrate further, Shikaka looked at Sasuke with anger. What should we do with that bastard? Everyone immediately stopped what they were doing and looked at Sasuke with anger and hatred. Even though I really want to erase the Uchiha clan from the existence, it's still Naruto who defeated him in the first place. So he is the one who should decide what to do with him. Kurama said, which he got a thankful nod from Naruto. Naruto slowly floated down towards Sasuke, who simply just glared at him with jealousy and anger. Jealous because Naruto proved that he is stronger than himself, and angry because he couldn't prove that he is the strongest, that he is stronger than Naruto. When Naruto landed right in front of Sasuke, who was kneeling down, his golden form dissipated and went back to normal. They both stared at each other for a few seconds before Naruto spoke up. Sasuke, listen T. Naruto was cut off by Sasuke. Don't give me those craps. They are nothing but hopeless words, that will lead only to failure. He said the last words before charging a Chidori and thrusting it right on his face. If this were someone else, the Chidori would have pierced the person's head in a second, but this is Naruto we are talking about. Before the Chidori could touch his face, Naruto quickly caught it by the wrist and held it tightly. The Chidori is now a few centimeters away from his face. Naruto was staring at the Chidori for a few seconds before looking at Sasuke, who only looked at him with more anger and hatred, which caused him to flinch. Naruto closed his eyes and shed a drop of tear, before opening it again and looked at Sasuke with a hardening gaze. Sasuke, no matter how much I try to tell you, try to help you, and try to understand you, you always push me away and move on your own. He then shook his head and sighed. No matter how much I try to change you, you will never change. You have truly fallen to the darkness. In my whole life, if I truly regret something, that it would not be able to save you from your darkness. He shook his head again before bringing his other hand forward. He then started to charge lightning on his hand. When Sasuke saw the lightning, he widened his eyes in shock. This Kakashi's lightning blade. Naruto nodded. It is the more powerful version of Chidori. He then moved his hand to the side, the one he was holding Sasuke's Chidori, and thrust the lightning blade right on his chest. Time has slowed down, the lightning blade is slowly approaching Sasuke. For a second, Sasuke closed his eyes and started to think about his past. In 1 second, memories started to flood in his mind. He remembered the day when Itachi and his father praised him for learning the fireball jutsu. That was his happiest day in his life. But from there, his happiest day went downhill after the night when Itachi massacred their whole clan. With that, Sasuke opened his eyes and gave Naruto a smirk. The scene is still going on in slow motion. When Sasuke slowly smirked, Naruto widened his eyes at realizing what position they are in right now. While Naruto is still holding his left hand, he forgot his right hand, which is approaching his chest at a fast speed with the Chidori. Both are vulnerable right now. The Chidori and the lightning blade are too close to dodge. And like that, both the Chidori and the lightning blade pierced each other's chest. Both Naruto and Sasuke coughed out blood from their mouth. None of them moved a single muscle. They just stayed like that while still keeping their hands inside each other's chest. Both are slowly breathing heavily. Besides the pain, Sasuke still smirked. "If I'm going down, then I'm taking you with me," he said before his Rinnegan blazed with power. Before anyone could do anything, a huge, dark purple portal opened right under their feet and sucked both of them inside. "Naruto!" the tailed beast shouted before all of them jumped right at the portal without any hesitation. When the last tailed beast jumped at the portal, it closed itself and disappeared out of thin air. Chapter 6, Sacrifice. Inside the wormhole, Naruto and Sasuke were unconscious and falling at a fast speed. Soon, they were caught up by the other tailed beasts. Kurama, who was screaming like a bitch at the moment, saw Naruto's dying state and quickly went closer to him so he can enter the seal. But for some reason, he couldn't get into the seal, and not only that, but for Kurama's horror, the other half of the 9 tails got extracted and merged with him back. When that happened, Gyuki asked with a panic tone, having a good idea what exactly happened but asked anyway. "What's going on, Kurama? Aren't you supposed to get into the seal and will?" Kurama didn't say anything for a few seconds but soon nodded. "Yes, but for some reason, I couldn't enter his seal. Not only that, but my other half also got extracted and merged back with me," he said with a serious tone. "Now what? How can we keep him alive?" This time it's Shikaku who asked. Kurama didn't say anything and just closed his eyes to focus his chakra in his palm. When Gyuki realized his action, he widened his eyes in shock. "Seriously, Kurama, you will go that far just to keep him alive? I understand that he is a special human, but still turning yourself into a chakra fruit just to save him? Gyuki, you're wrong." Everyone looked at Matatabi with confusion. "What do you mean, Matatabi-chan?" Son Goku asked with confusion. "Yeah, if that human isn't special, then why would the stupid fox sacrifice himself to save him?" Shikaku asked. Matatabi just shook her head and sighed. "It's simple, Kurama is not saving him because he is a special human." She then shook her head again and pointed her paw at both of them. "No, Kurama is saving him because this human is special to him," she said, which made everyone's eyes wide, except for Matatabi herself and surprisingly Shikaku. Shikaku, because despite being sealed inside Gaara and manipulating him during his childhood, he still cared for him because Gaara felt the same way as well, and he knows better than anyone how much Naruto meant to Kurama. "I see. I understand how this stupid fox feels." Shikaku then put his own paw forward and started to focus his chakra and mixing his with Kurama's. For the first time, Kurama was flabbergasted at seeing the sibling that he hated the most, also sacrificing himself to save his Jinchuriki. When Shikaku saw Kurama's flabbergasted expression, he smirked. "What stupid fox? Why is your face so priceless?" Kurama blinked once, then twice, then the third time, and then he shouted in confusion. "Why the hell are you sacrificing yourself, Shikaku? This isn't a game. You will die forever and never ever will be able to reborn again," he said with a worried tone. Everyone was very surprised to see this side of Kurama, especially Shikaku, since Kurama always calls him Raccoon and not by his name. Shikaku was very surprised but soon gave a smirk. "You don't need to know that. Besides, be grateful that I'm even going this far for your Jinchuriki." After that, Kurama didn't say anything and stayed quiet while continuing doing his thing. After their small interaction, the other tailed beasts realized how much Naruto meant to Kurama. So they also joined and started to mix their chakra as well. Now Kurama is absolutely speechless. He wanted to protest but was stopped by Matatabi when she whacked his head with her tail. Everyone shared a good laugh at Kurama's grumbling before Shikaku started to shrink. "Alright then, I guess I'm going first. See you all on the other side," he said before he turned into a small, sandy flaming ball of chakra. After that, it was Matatabi who turned into a blue, flaming ball of chakra. Then it was Isabu, then Son Goku, then Koko, then Saiken, then Chomei, then Gyuki, and then at last, Kurama, who was about to turn into a golden flaming ball of chakra, but was stopped by someone calling his name, "Kurama." When he heard someone calling his name, he quickly started to look around and saw Naruto looked at him with half-lidded eyes. He quickly went closer and kneeled down so he could hear his voice. "Yes, brat, what's up?" he asked like they were talking about weather. "K Kurama, why? Why are you doing this?" Naruto asked with sadness and confusion. "Why what?" he asked, acting ignorant to his question. Even with half-lidded eyes, Naruto gave him a hard glare which made him flinch. "Don't act in front of me, Kurama. You know what I mean." Kurama gave a defeated sigh. His ears dropped, and he looked down in melancholy. After getting his thoughts, he looked back at Naruto with a sad expression. "Naruto, I was sealed inside you since your birth. I have watched you since your childhood. Everyone bullying you, beating you, castrating you, and even goes as far as raping you." Naruto winced at remembering that particular memory. "Everyone hated your guts and wanted to kill you. You have every rights to be mad at them, and yet, you still forgave them for their actions. You never have fallen to the darkness, and always moved forward. Besides your obsession over Hokage, you also searched for peace so no one will go through the pain that you have been through. He then chuckled. You just remind me of old man Six Paths so much that I just couldn't help but put my trust in you. You're like a little brother to me. When Kurama said the last part, the dam has broken, and tears started to fall from Naruto's eyes like a stream of water. Thanks Kurama, for everything, he muttered while sobbing. Kurama gave him a smile. You're welcome, kid, he said before getting serious. Listen, Naruto, after I turn into a flaming chakra, mine and the other's chakra will merge together, and will create a chakra fruit at the size of your palm. Once the fruit comes to your hand, I want you to eat it. Naruto wanted to protest but was cut off by Kurama. And one more thing, Naruto, even though you couldn't save your world from destruction, promise me that you will move forward and have a happy life, make new families and protect them with the new powers you will receive. Naruto closed his eyes and gave him a nod. I promise, Kurama, I promise. He then opened his eyes and gave him a grin. Besides, you know very well that Naruto Uzumaki never goes back on his words. Kurama gave him a proud smirk before raising his fist forward for a fist bump. Good, now don't you dare cry over me and act like an emo Uchiha. Naruto nodded and gave him a fist bump. Alright Kurama, I will try. I might be a bit mopey but I won't be an emo. Kurama then chuckled, then it turned into a full-blown laughter. Ha 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 ha. That's acceptable. He then started to shrink and was about to turn into a golden flaming ball of chakra before giving him the last words. Farewell Uzumaki, see you next time, he said with a huge grin before fully turned into a flaming ball of chakra. Farewell Kurama, I hope we can meet again, he said with teary eyes. But he quickly blinked the tears away and watched the chakra in fascination. When Kurama turned into the flaming ball of chakra, the other chakra merged with his, and slowly turned into one red flaming ball of chakra that looked almost like the color of blood. The new chakra is about to become a chakra fruit, but suddenly, unknown to Naruto, a transparent person who was watching him also turns into a flaming ball of chakra which has the color of silver. And when the chakra tried to merge with the other chakra was about to reject, but suddenly, they just gave in and let the silver chakra dominate the rest. And then slowly, the red blood chakra now turned into silver and slowly, it turned into a chakra fruit. Then the chakra fruit slowly went toward Naruto's open palm and rested on his hand. Naruto curiously looked at the chakra fruit. But before he could look at it further, his vision started to get blurry and slowly losing consciousness. But before he could lose his consciousness, he quickly ate it up as fast as possible, and slowly waited for any effects. But unfortunately nothing has happened and Naruto slowly lost his consciousness. Unknown to Naruto, his body did have an effect. His once pierced chest is now completely healed like it wasn't there in the first place. Not only that, but on his left palm, there's a diamond-shaped symbol which was glowing silver before it died down and turned into black. Subconscious. Ah, so he is the last survivor of that planet. And he is a very strong human. Interesting. I can sense some otsutsuki blood in his veins. It's very, very faint, almost unnoticeable, but it's there. Maybe I can find something from his memories and see what happened. Chapter 7, Dimensional Space. In the wormhole, Naruto is still falling while unconscious. How much time has passed? No one knows. Time, it's something that doesn't exist inside the wormhole. In his world, it could be seconds, minutes, hours, years, decades, centuries, or maybe millennia has passed. It's just as unpredictable as our knucklehead. Oh, talking about our knucklehead. Yeah, he is still unconscious. Not only him but apparently, Sasuke is also unconscious while falling with our knucklehead. The wormhole, it kept getting longer and longer. Like it's endless. Like it has no end. But for some divine miracle, the exit finally showed up and threw both of them on the other side. The moment they entered the other side, their body already started to disintegrate into dust. Inside Naruto's subconscious, the same person looked at the place with a frown. This is bad. If he stays in that place for too long, his whole body will disintegrate and soon, nothing of him will be left. He then looked at the unconscious Naruto from the subconscious. He scratched the back of his head and thought, I don't know how long his body can handle the karma seal, but I need to do something soon. He was pacing around frantically while trying to think, but before he could think further, he sensed a huge power from Naruto's right palm. Huh! What's this? He kneeled down and lifted his hand to inspect the seal on his right palm. When he saw the sun seal, he slightly widened his eyes in surprise. He could literally feel the power radiating from his palm. Oh, this power definitely belongs to an otsutsuki. He then traced his finger on the seal and frowned. But this power is temporary and soon it will disappear. I better absorb this before it runs out. He then touched the seal with his finger and suddenly, the seal started to leak yellow chakra and engulfed his finger. Soon, the chakra got absorbed, and the seal on his right palm disappeared. Alright, soon I will encode this power in his chakra and make it a part of him. But for now I will take over his body and get us out of this place. The karma seal is our only ticket to get out of this spooky place, he said while shivering at the thought of staying here longer. Who knows what could happen if we stay here longer? When he said that, the diamond symbol on Naruto's palm started to glow silver. Soon, silver lines started to spread around his body, and covered his body in a strange pattern. On his knuckles there were also those diamond symbols drawn on it. Under the knuckles, there was also a diamond symbol but much more bigger than the others. Not only that, but many lines are also connected on each 4 points of the symbol. On his face's left and right sides, there was also a long silver line connected to the silver pigmentation around his eyes. The moment when the lines connected to the silver pigmentation, he snapped his eyes open and started to look around. But when he opened his eyes, there weren't any sapphire blue eyes. Instead, there were totally different eyes. The eyes themselves have a black sclera, with darkish blue pupils and sapphire blue iris. The eyes are also pulsing small sparks of electricity, which gives it a divine look. Not only that, but he also grew a huge horn on his head which took the shape of a crown. Ha! He blinked, which caused another spark of electricity pulse from his eyes. Wait, this isn't the Byakugan. Instead of Naruto, a mixed voice between Naruto and the person from his subconscious spoke from his mouth. He blinked again and soon realized that this isn't the Byakugan he meant to awaken. Impressive. After turning his blood into a quarter otsutsuki, his eyes didn't only evolve into a Byakugan, but it took it a step further. It mutated into a Jugan. He then gave a soft smile. Maybe, just maybe, he would be the one to destroy that arrogant clan. He thought before noticing Sasuke floating right beside him. When he looked at Sasuke, he saw the same power signature radiating from his palm. The same power signature that was on Naruto's right palm. The Jugan is not only giving him the X-ray vision, but it also shows him the chakra pathways, that is directly connected to the nervous system. And currently in Sasuke's palm, a different kind of chakra is connected to the nervous system which is circulating his chakra all the way to his chakra coil. The person who's in control of Naruto's body slowly went closer to Sasuke and lifted his hand to see a different kind of seal on his palm. This seal is different, yet it's radiating that same power signature, but different at the same time. And it's also a temporary power. He then looked at Sasuke's wounded chest and disintegrating body with a frown. I don't have the ability to heal him, and he is already halfway disintegrated. He then looked at his half-moon seal and hummed. He is gonna die anyway, so I should take that seal as well and quickly leave this place as soon as possible. He then looked at a specific place and narrowed his eyes. I sense a huge power approaching us. I have no doubt that this boy alone can give that thing an equal fight. He then looked at Naruto's hand and squeezed it. But he is currently weakened and unconscious, and I won't be able to use the karmas and the Jugan's full potential, at least not now. He then quickly looked back at Sasuke and lifted his hand to absorb the chakra from the seal. Once he finished absorbing it, he quickly left his hand before it disintegrated as well. He sighed in relief. Done, now the only thing left is... Before he could finish his sentence, the Jugan started to glow blue and suddenly, a vision appeared in his mind. When he saw the vision, he widened his eyes and quickly counted 5 to 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 now. He quickly flew upwards in a silver flash and disappeared from the spot. The moment he moved from the place, a large crimson beam passed through the spot. When he dodged the beam, he soon appeared at the top of it, and watched the rest of Sasuke's body getting annihilated. When the beam finally stopped, he tried to look for the one who launched the beam. But there was no one. It's like the beam just came out of nowhere. When he was about to move, the Jugan glowed again, and another vision appeared in his mind. He narrowed his eyes when he saw the vision. So that thing is using some sort of invisibility technique. No wonder why I can't see it, he thought before quickly looking up and disappeared in a silver flash, effectively dodging the giant crimson fireball that was launched from above. The moment he disappeared, he appeared again in a silver flash and stayed a few meters away from the crimson fireball. The fireball kept going downwards in the unknown space and suddenly, it exploded in a crimson light. When the fireball exploded, it radiated a lot of heat which made him a bit sweaty. Well, that would have been really bad if that hit me. But thanks to the future sight, one of the Jugan's abilities showed me a glimpse into the future, so I can dodge those attacks effectively. But sadly it has limits. I can only see 5 seconds into the future. He then stopped moving and used his senses to see where that thing was about to attack. But he couldn't sense anyone and gritted his teeth in frustration. Damn it, that thing is masking its presence. I can't sense that thing at all. He then started to move around and tried to look for something that would give him an opening. But he couldn't find anything. Before he could look further, the future sight showed him another vision. He quickly moved to the side in a silver blur, and dodged a huge paw that was about to hit him diagonally on the head. When he saw the paw, he widened his eyes in shock. What the hell is that? He asked particularly to no one but himself. He then slowly looked up and saw a gigantic red dragon which was covered by many scales like an armor, and had a large horn on his snout. He was about to attack but suddenly, his body started to show small cracks, and the karma is slowly retrieving inside the seal. He looked at himself and thought, this is bad. I can't fight this creature in this state. He then stared at the dragon once more, and saw its red scaly paw coming towards him, planning to crush him to death. I need to get out of here. This body won't be able to handle the karma for too long. He then brought his left hand to the side and pumped a lot of chakra on his palm. Slowly, the karma seal on his palm started to glow once more. The silver chakra leaked out of the seal and started to spin like a vortex. Between the silver vortex, a portal has opened and quickly sucked him inside. When he was sucked, the paw came downward and smashed the portal into millions of particles inside the wormhole. That was very close. Whatever that creature was, it was powerful, no doubt. The soon he said that, the karma has retrieved back to the seal. This portal is linked to one of the human worlds, so he would be fine for now. He then gave a tired yawn. Guess I can take a small nap and store back the rest of my chakra. Oh, before I forget about that, I'd better give him those 2 seals and make it permanent, he said before working on the 2 seals he absorbed. While the person is working on those seals, Naruto's body suddenly starts to shrink. He shrunk until he was at the height of his 5-year-old self. When the person from Naruto's subconscious noticed that, he put a finger on his chin and thought. So the effects of the chakra fruit are showing now. Interesting, I thought it wouldn't show any effects. Guess it just took more time than usual. He then shrugged. Doesn't matter. His body needs to adapt to the changes anyway. His chakra coil needs to start developing from the start, since he now has a lot of potent chakra in his body. He then looked at Naruto's 2 palms and nodded. They are finally encoded with his chakra and now they are part of him. I'm curious though, they are almost like the karma seal but different at the same time. I wonder what they are capable of. He then looked at Naruto with a stoic face. Alright human, before I put my full trust in you, I have to judge you and see what kind of person you are. He then put his middle and index finger on his forehead and closed his eyes. Suddenly, multiple memories flooded his mind and saw every one of Naruto's memories with just a blink of an eye. When he saw all those memories, he widened his eyes before plastering a huge grin on his face. I underestimated you by calling you a strong human. He then shook his head while still having that huge grin on his face. You're not a strong human. No, you are an incredible human. A human with that will is definitely worthy of my powers and my partnership. From now on, we are both partners, Naruto. He then smiled softly while looking up in thoughts. Maybe, just maybe, you can help me to destroy that monster of a clan. He then closed his eyes and slowly sat beside Naruto and fell into deep slumber, not noticing that they were about to exit the portal. Chapter 8, Introduction. The human world is also known as the Earth, and the dimensions where humans live. Did I say dimensions? More than one? Your answer is yes, I did say dimensions. The human world, where Naruto is going right now, has 2 other separate dimensions. They are usually known as heaven and hell. Well, we can talk about heaven and hell later. For now, let's talk a little bit about the human world. The human world, also known as the Earth, is a place, or a dimension where normal humans live. When I say normal, I mean very normal. So normal that even a normal civilian human from Naruto's world can defeat them in hand-to-hand combat without breaking a sweat. If you bring 100 humans from the Earth and fight them against 10 civilian humans from Naruto's world, those 10 humans can literally slaughter the whole 100 humans but with some difficulty. And we are talking about in hand-to-hand combat. The differences between their physiology is just too much. Even though their physiology are different, technologically they are far more superior than the elemental nations. If you talk about communication, health, construction, transport, internet, etc., they are superior in every one of those fields than the elemental nations. Also, their military powers are not something to scoff at. Each country has enough power to destroy one another. Even though their military powers are impressive, they are nothing compared to the military power of the elemental nations. If you send 10 Jonins to infiltrate Russia, they can literally enter the country and steal any information they desire right under their noses, and no one will suspect a thing. Not only that, but they can also plant and hide the bombs right under their noses and they won't even find out until they explode and destroy the whole country with little effort. That's what 10 Jonin can do. 10 Umbu Black Ops are even more terrifying than 10 Jonin ninjas. The Umbu Black Ops are not known as the assassination units for nothing. The differences between the military strength are just too much. And that's the difference between the humans from the Earth and the humans from Naruto's world. But besides humans, there are other types of species that live with them. The supernaturals. Supernaturals are other species of living beings that exist in their world. Those beings have powers unlike other humans. They use different types of energies to utilize their powers. For example, demonic energy, light energy, magic or sorcery, dragon energy, holy energy, yukai energy or chakra, etc. There are many others, but these are the main ones. Now, our knucklehead hero is going to exit the portal. In an unknown forest, the portal has opened right at the top of a pond and through the Uzumaki before disappearing from the sight. Naruto, who was unconscious for a moment, slowly started to sink underwater. Multiple bubbles started to come to the surface and popped one by one. When the bubbles stopped surfacing, a shadow slowly started to appear at the surface. Slowly, the shadow got darker and darker. The water of the surface started to waver and waver. Suddenly, the waves went upwards like a geyser and then, splash! From the geyser came out our knucklehead hero, who's currently gulping air like a man in a desert, desperately drinking water like no tomorrow. Cough, 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 cough. Damn, what the hell happened? Where the hell am I? He suddenly stopped talking when he noticed his voice. It sounded squeaky, a bit childish. With horror and slight curiosity, he looked down and saw his reflection. He blinked once, then twice, then the third time, and then, he shouted at the top of his lungs. Hey, what the hell just happened to my body? After shouting, he took a deep breath before slowly looked at his small hands and squeezed it. What just happened? Was this the side effect of eating the chakra fruit? He thought before gulping in nervousness. He then slowly walked out of the pond and went towards a tree with a shaky step. Achoo! I think I caught a cold. He sniffed before standing in front of a tree with a bit of nervousness. After staring at the tree for who knows how long, he steeled his resolve and slowly put one foot on the tree. When he put one foot on, he immediately closed his eyes for anything to happen, but surprisingly, nothing happened. He sighed in relief before smiling confidently. He then was going to put his other foot, but surprisingly, the foot he placed on the tree suddenly slipped, and made him face fault on the ground with a thud. He stayed like that for a while, before jolting up from the ground and angrily putting his feet on the tree, and tried to stand horizontally, but he failed miserably multiple times. After many failures, Naruto gave up and huffed angrily, before lying down on the soft grass. He pulled one from Shikamaru's book and watched the clouds while thinking about the events that recently happened. After thinking for a while, he gave a sad sigh and looked at the clouds with grief and sadness. I'm really sorry everyone, I'm really sorry. He shed a drop of tear from the corner of his eye, before wiping it with the sleeves of his now long orange shirt. He noticed his clothing and sighed once more. Guess I have to stitch my clothes into a smaller size. He then started rummaging through his ninja pouch and brought 2 items. Well, it's a good thing I kept the yarn and the sewing needle with me. Of course, every shinobi should have at least 1 yarn and a sewing needle, so they can stitch the gashes and many other deep wounds that they might get in many battles. He then took off his shirt and started to cut it with a kunai. An hour later, Naruto finally finished stitching his clothes and now he put it on to check the sizes. And surprisingly, they matched. Even though he didn't want to admit it, he is very good with stitching clothes since his childhood, which also brought back some bad memories. But he pushed the bad memories aside and looked at the forest with curiosity. By the looks of it, the forest is pretty big and has more trees and greenery. Animals are running, hiding and doing other animal stuff that they usually do. There were some species of animals that Naruto never saw before, further proving that he is in another dimension. He wanted to sense the animal's chakra, but for his frustration, his chakra was yet to be unlocked, which he realized just now. Wait, I got smaller, and I can't use my chakra. He then widened his eyes and smirked at realizing something. Since my body got back to my younger self, maybe it also brought my chakra coil back to the development stage. So maybe, I just need to unlock it back. He mentally patted himself for figuring this out. Good job, Naruto. Naruto nodded to himself and sat down on the ground in a meditative position. The more he meditates, the deeper he goes to his subconscious. Suddenly, the time stopped and everything got blue and white. Naruto didn't notice and kept meditating before someone spoke up. You know? You're a very interesting human. When Naruto heard the voice from behind, he widened his eyes and quickly got off the ground while taking a fighting stance. When Naruto saw the person, his eyes kept getting wider and wider while his jaw dropped all the way to the ground. When the person saw Naruto's shocked expression, he chuckled in amusement. What? Haven't you seen an otsutsuki before? I thought Kaguya would tell you about our race, he said with an amused smile. Naruto didn't say anything and just stared at the person who unintentionally said that he is an otsutsuki. The person looks very tall with pale white skin like the color of snow, and he is wearing a white Japanese kimono. He also has blue lavender eyes with a tinge of violet on it. He also has 2 horns on each sides which also grown all the way to the back. He also has long white goatee with a long white hair. When Naruto registered that he mentioned Kaguya, he slowly closed his mouth and looked at the otsutsuki with narrowed eyes. Who are you? And how the hell are you related to Kaguya? He said with venom in his voice. Ma, why are we showing so much hostility? I'm not here to fight you, child. He said with a wave of his hand and a nervous chuckle. He then sat on the ground and gestured Naruto to do the same. Naruto was skeptical at first, but soon did the same and sat down on the ground, while still keeping an eye on him and looking for any negative intention but found none. The otsutsuki smiled before slowly raising his right hand. Seeing this action, he immediately put his guard up and got ready to defend himself if things came to worst. But luckily, nothing has happened. Naruto suspiciously looked at his hand and started to poke it with a stick that he got from who knows where. The otsutsuki didn't felt annoyed. Instead, he felt more amused at seeing this human trying to find for any traps or deceptions by poking his hand with a small stick. Hey, come on, I won't bite. It's just a handshake. When Naruto saw nothing had happened, he threw the stick away and grabbed his hand to give him a handshake with a grin. The otsutsuki happily returned it with a grin of his own. See, this isn't too bad, right? He asked, which Naruto nodded in agreement. Yeah, he said before both pulled back their respective hands and smiled at each other, and gave each other a nod. Naruto gave a tired sigh before he spoke up with a much calmer tone. I'm really sorry for my outburst. I'm just tired of all this crap that recently happened in my life, you know? The otsutsuki nodded his head with a sad smile and sympathy. I understand how you feel, when you can't even save any of your people, your friends, and your families even after having all those powers. It just gets unbearable the more you think about the past and your mistakes. Naruto widened his eyes in shock. But how did you? Before he could finish his sentence, he was cut off by the otsutsuki. Experienced child, it's all experience. You're not the only one who had hardships in life. Plus, your memory has showed me everything about you, and I have to say, you have a very strong will, which I truly admire in a person. Naruto didn't say anything and both stayed in a comfortable silence which no one wanted to break, until... Wait, my memory? What do you mean by that? Naruto asked with confusion. Chapter 9, Start of a New Adventure. The otsutsuki sheepishly rubbed the back of his head with a chuckle. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you about that. He then coughed in his hand and straightened up, which caused Naruto to also straighten up unconsciously. Alright, I will explain everything to you. But now, let's start with an introduction first. I'm Shinten Otsutsuki and I'm a branch member of Otsutsuki clan that exists on another planet on another galaxy. Shinten looked at Naruto and sweat dropped at seeing him using incoherent words. Peanut and galley? Naruto muttered to himself while rubbing his chin with his index finger. Shinten chuckled to himself and thought. Oh, I forgot that they are not that advanced to understand the concept of universes, planets and galaxies. After chuckling some more, Shinten coughed on his hand, which stopped Naruto to think any more incoherent words and give his attention. Child, it's not peanut and galley, it's planet and galaxy. You're still way behind the time to understand them, so I will try to explain as simple as possible. Naruto understood and nodded, which he got a great from Shinten. Alright, so, as I said, my name is Shinten Otsutsuki and I'm from the Otsutsuki clan, which exists very far beyond your world. He paused and looked at Naruto to see if he understood. When he saw him nod, he continued. Our clan is a clan of celestial beings that travels through other worlds to plant seeds of the divine tree, where there more lives exists. The divine tree holds only one purpose, and that is to absorb the life force of the living beings, and the natural energy of the world, which later turns them into chakra fruits. Naruto widened his eyes in a certain realization. Wait, you said the tree also absorbs the natural energy of the world, right? Shinten nodded and immediately understood what he's thinking about. Yes, it does absorbs the natural energy of the world, which is also the reason why it's made of pure nature itself. Naruto nodded. No wonder why I sense so much nature energy from the 10 tails. Shinten nodded. Yes, and not only that, but the natural energy is also the life force of the world. So if the natural energy of the world gets fully absorbed, the world also dies and later, it gets destroyed. Naruto frowned. So basically, the divine tree is like a parasite that eats every blood in your body, except it's not blood but your life force and natural energy of the world. Shinten nodded again. Yes, you can say that. Naruto's frown deepened. Shinten, no offense to your clan, but they are absolute monsters. I don't understand why do they even do that, he said with a shake of his head. Shinten gave a tired sigh and chuckled. None taken. In fact, I also think that they are an absolute abomination. They are all corrupted, hunger for power. All they want is more power. That's also the reason why I lost my own friends and family. Naruto looked at Shinten with confusion. What do you mean? What happened? He asked, which caused Shinten to sigh once more. Shinten looked down in sadness and grief, trying to not shed tears at remembering his friends and family's death. Despite trying to suppress his feelings, he still shed one drop of tear from the corner of his eye. Naruto noticed and also looked down in sadness and understanding. Both stayed in silence, which no one wanted to break it. After a few moments of silence, Naruto spoke up. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. Shinten shook his head and wanted to protest but was cut off by Naruto. Besides, you can tell me when you feel comfortable. Plus, we have just met and don't know anything about each other. So before we tell each other's personal problems, we should start as friends first, don't you agree? He said with a grin while raising his fist in the air, gesturing him to give a fist bump. Shinten was shocked. Whatever he was expecting, this wasn't it. He never imagined that his host would ask for friendship. He thought they might end up in a partnership where he gives him power and in exchange, he would help him to destroy the Otsutsuki clan for good. But friendship wasn't something he expected. When Shinten realized that he was staring at Naruto for too long, he quickly shook his head and gave a grin of his own. He also raised his fist and bumped it with his. Naruto's grin got wider and almost split his face in half. Friends? He asked, which he got a happy yet excited nod from the Otsutsuki. Friends. And like that, a new friendship has born. A few minutes later, Naruto is now walking in an unknown forest while having a mental conversation with his new partner, Shinten. So Shinten, you said that you have mixed your chakra with the other tailed beasts and converted into one, is that right? Shinten nodded. Yep, I did. And now, I have infinite and potent chakra which might be very toxic for my body. He asked, which he got an immediate answer. Yes, Naruto, the chakra you're currently having is very toxic for your body. Until I turn you into at least half Otsutsuki, you won't be able to use any chakra, he said with a serious tone, which caused Naruto to sulk and whine about not being able to use his chakra for a while. Shinten chuckled at his usual antics. Don't worry, Naruto, it's just a few days. I'm sure you can handle it. Naruto sighed and kept wandering in the forest without any destination in his mind. Sapphire blue eyes curiously looked at the different species of animals in the forest. Whoa, most of the animals I have never ever seen before. He then looked to the right and saw a squirrel trying to reach for the acorns on the tree. Naruto couldn't help but think that it's adorable. He wanted to touch and pat it, but the cute thing is in the way high above the tree and he can't use chakra, which makes it even worse. So he just left it on its own business. You know, you could have just trained in some other things besides your chakra. Like your stamina and physical strength. Naruto nodded and actually liked the idea, but he needed to make a camp and settle down to rest and eat first. It's actually a good idea, Shinten. But I need to make a camp to settle down and eat first. I'm starving. The moment he said that, is the moment his stomach decided to grumble like a very hungry predator looking for food. His stomach's grumbling actually scared the poor little animals, who thought a very hungry tiger or a very hungry bear decided to hunt them to satisfy their hunger. It was terrifying for those poor little things. Naruto and Shinten both sweat dropped at the scene. Looks like they are very sensitive to your stomach's grumbling, Shinten said with a chuckle. Yeah, I can see that, Databeo. Naruto said with an annoyed tone. Shinten just chuckled more, while Naruto muttered some curses in his breath. A few minutes later, Naruto is still walking in the forest while trying to look for a suitable spot to make a camp. There are only trees and trees and trees. Wherever you look at it, it's only trees. There's not even a single clearing. He then started to pull his blonde hair in frustration. This would have been much easier with shadow clones. Shinten looked outside from his subconscious. Be patient, Naruto. You will find one soon. Yeah, keep saying that, and we might not even find one before night time. Before Shinten could talk back, they heard a sound which made them pause. Both of their ears twitched and tried to figure what the sound was about. When they finally registered the sound, they both gave a huge grin. It's water! They both said in unison. Naruto didn't waste any time and rushed towards the sound of the water. He passed through many trees and branches before seeing a light between them. Naruto quickly went towards the light and slowly, the light started to fade and revealed a small river on the other side of the trees. On the other side where the river is located, we can see our knucklehead hero jumping out of the trees and landing right in front of the river with a backflip. Naruto didn't waste any time and quickly took off his clothes, before jumping in the river with a shout. Here I come! Splash! Naruto started to swim in the river without a care in the world. Unbeknown to Naruto, behind him a shadow has appeared on the surface of the water. The shadow got darker and darker, and it took the form of a long reptile with 4 legs and a large tail. At the front of the shadow, a face with long snout and large canine teeth came at the top of the surface. It's an animal that Naruto has no idea. The animal is swimming right behind Naruto like a predator. But the poor animal has no idea that the predator is actually Naruto, not the animal itself. Naruto, who was carelessly swimming at the river, already noticed the animal behind him and gave a predatory smirk. Good, now I just need to lure that thing closer. He thought before quickly moving to the right and dodged the animal's attack, who opened its jaw to bite him from behind. The moment Naruto dodged was the moment he threw all 8 shurikens at the same time, effectively hitting many possible kill points and killing the animal with no effort. Looks like I still have my shinobi instincts, Naruto thought to himself, after glancing at the animal whose now dead body is floating on the water with his shurikens plunged into its skin. He used the wires that were connected with the shurikens to pull the animal from the water. Once the animal was on the shore, Naruto looked at his surroundings and cringed in disgust. What the heck? This place reminds me of the Turtle Island. Naruto then shivered at remembering the overgrown monkey kissing the life out of him. That was very disgusting and freaky. Anyway, our knucklehead hero is currently lighting the campfire that he created on the shore. After trying for 1,000 times, he finally succeeded and released a heavy sigh. Arg, finally this stupid camp finally lit up. He then looked at the meat that he got from the animal and drooled. Yum, now I can finally eat this thing and be done for today, he thought before grabbing the meat and cutting it in pieces with his kunai. He then stuck the pieces of meat in a stick and held it at the top of the fire. When the meat finally cooked, he quickly devoured it like a hungry predator. Shinten's sweat dropped at seeing Naruto devouring the poor thing like a hungry beast. After finishing his meal, Naruto gave a satisfying burp and started to clean his teeth, while laying on the ground with his head laying at the top of his left hand. Ahem, if you're finally satisfied with your hunger, then shall we talk about the condition of your DNA? Shinten asked and waited for Naruto to answer. But he didn't answer. When he got no answer, he looked at Naruto with a larger sweat drop. Naruto is now fast asleep and has already started to snore, not caring about the danger. Shinten scratched his cheek and thought, maybe I should let him sleep. His expression then softened. After all, he fought in a war for 3 days straight without any rest. He then sat down beside Naruto and also fell asleep. Chapter 10, Unexpected Kidnap. It has been 4 days since Naruto came to this unknown world. Well unknown to him and Shinten, who has no idea where they are. For 4 days, Naruto roamed around the large forest and found no civilization until now. From a distance, Naruto saw a large building that could rival the Hokage Tower. The building has weird curvy patterns with spiky walls and many other patterns. Besides the weird building, there are other large buildings that looks very modern. For normal humans, those buildings are nothing special. But for Naruto, it's super modern. When Naruto got out of the forest, he looked at the buildings and roads with widened eyes and a gaping mouth. The more Naruto watched the people and the moving objects, the more dizzy he felt. He felt many people's gaze at him, but he simply ignored all of them and kept watching the place with heavy breath. One person saw Naruto's uncomfortable expression and decided to help him since now he's a child. When the person put a hand on his shoulder, he jumped in surprise and quickly spun around to see the man with his widened eyes. The man got a bit concerned and tried to talk to him, but Naruto didn't understand and kept breathing hard. From the subconscious, Shinten is trying its best to calm him down, but nothing was working. Naruto started to breathe harder and his vision got blurry. Before he knew it, his body was about to fall to the ground, but was caught by the man. And the moment he fell, was the moment his vision became black and he got unconscious. A few hours later, Naruto suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the white ceiling with confusion. "Oh, what happened to me?" he muttered to himself before slowly getting up from the bed with a grunt. When he sat on the bed with his legs hanging on the side, he started to look around with curiosity and suspicion. Curiosity because he is curious to know where he exactly is right now. And suspicion because he suspects that he might be at the hospital. "You're finally awake, Naruto," Shinten said from his subconscious. Naruto flinched in surprise and started to look around for the voice. But when he remembered that Shinten is speaking to him from his subconscious, he mentally smacked himself for being so stupid. He then stopped moving and sat there like a statue. A few seconds later, everything stopped and got white and blue. Slowly, Shinten appeared right beside him like a ghost and put a hand on his shoulder. And this time, Naruto didn't flinch away since he knew who it was. Naruto opened his eyes and looked at Shinten with confusion. "Shinten, what happened?" Shinten didn't reply and just stared at him, thinking how to approach a particular subject. After a few moments of staring, he cleared his throat and asked a question. "Naruto, do you remember when I said that you need to be half otsutsuki to use the chakra without harming your body?" Naruto thought for a second and nodded. "Yeah, I remember." "What about it?" Shinten contemplated for a moment but soon answered. "You see, in your blood, I have sensed a small hint of otsutsuki DNA in your Uzumaki DNA. So for the last 3 days I have been trying to search that particular DNA to increase it. Basically means that you will have 3 different types of DNA in your body. But later I found out that the small otsutsuki DNA is actually your Uzumaki DNA." Naruto was very confused. "I didn't understand. What do you mean, Shinten?" he asked with more confusion. Shinten took a deep breath and released it before speaking. "Naruto, basically it means your Uzumaki DNA is actually otsutsuki DNA itself, but much more weaker." Naruto didn't register at first but soon widened his eyes in understanding what the application meant. He then looked down in sadness. "So does that mean I won't be an Uzumaki anymore? I will not be related to my mother anymore?" he asked with a sad tone. Shinten squeezed his shoulder and gave him a reassuring smile. "No, it doesn't mean you will not be related to your mother. You will still be an Uzumaki. You will just become a more powerful version of Uzumaki." Naruto slowly looked up and looked at him with hope in his eyes. "Really? Do I still have a connection to my mother?" Shinten nodded. "Yes, don't worry Naruto, you'll still have a connection with your mother," he said while rubbing his head soothingly, which Naruto leaned in and enjoyed it very much. "Thank you, Shinten. If it wasn't for you, I still would have mourned for my friends and comrades." Shinten gave him a pat on the back and grinned. "You're welcome. Now no more sad faces. Cheer up," he said, which caused Naruto to grin as well. "Now there's one more thing I need to tell you. Your otsutsuki DNA is nearly to completion." Naruto widened his eyes in shock. "Wait, so I'm about to turn into otsutsuki?" Shinten nodded. "Yes, you are. I say about tomorrow you will turn into a half otsutsuki. And then you can finally use your chakra without damaging your body." Naruto couldn't help but feel excited to finally use his chakra. "I can't wait. Finally I'll be able to use my chakra and kick some ass," he said while pumping his fist in the air. Shinten chuckled at his cheerful attitude. He gave him another pat on the back before speaking in a serious tone. "Naruto, you might need to get out of here as soon as possible." Naruto stopped whatever he was doing and looked at him with confusion. Seeing his confusion, Shinten elaborated further. "While you were unconscious, I overheard some people saying something like, taking you to a church or something. I couldn't hear them properly since they were on the other side of the door, but I think they are planning to do something with you." Naruto narrowed his eyes in suspicion. "Whatever they are planning, it won't be something good. We somehow need to escape this place." Shinten nodded in agreement. "I agree, but I think you should change your clothes first. It looks ridiculous," he said with a chuckle. Naruto didn't understand at first, but when he looked down, an embarrassed blush formed on his cheeks. He is currently wearing a white shirt with no pants and no boxers. It's very embarrassing. Naruto quickly left his subconscious and got off the bed to look for any set of clothes. He didn't find much, but at least there was some clothes in a nearby cabinet. From there, he found some white shirts with some black pants. He felt a little disappointed since there were no orange clothes. But he pushed his disappointment aside and quickly wore the black pants and left the room. Naruto was looking at the hall with a shocked yet mesmerized expression. The hall looked so futuristic that for a second, he doubted that he is actually in a human world. The humans around him wear so many different styles of clothes that he wished he could buy one of them in orange color. That would have looked good at him. "Naruto, you can stare at those things some other time, but for now, focus on your task of escaping this place." Shinten reminded him of his task. Naruto quickly shook his head and mentally nodded. Yeah, sorry about that, he said before quickly walking around the hall to find the exit. While Naruto was looking for an exit, Shinten noticed the same people that he was talking about, with the priestess outfit standing at the corner. One of them noticed Naruto and quickly informed his subordinates. Shit! Naruto, get out of here, now! Shinten warned him. Naruto was confused at first but soon understood when a group of people gazed at him with menacing eyes. Naruto sweated for a second before quickly walking the opposite way and trying to stay away from those people. When those people saw Naruto walking away from them, they started to walk towards him to catch him, and take him with them for their own ambition. Naruto noticed that they were following him, so he increased his speed and quickly walked away. The people noticed that, and started to jog to catch up to him. When Naruto noticed that, he also started to jog to stay away from them. Since it's a hospital, they couldn't run and just continued to jog. When Naruto made sure that they completely lost him, he slowed his pace and continued to walk while looking for an exit. Man, I'm really missing my shadow clones. I could have scattered my shadow clones to look for an exit while I investigate about those people who were looking for me. Be patient, Naruto, you're very close to using your chakra. Once you become half otsutsuki, you can not only investigate but you can also kick some asses. Naruto gave an amused grin at hearing that part from Shinten. And that's what I call great minds think alike? Shinten gave an amused chuckle at hearing that. Yes, I agree, indeed they do. Naruto and Shinten both shared a chuckle before Naruto looked at a window with that same mesmerized expression at seeing the scenery of the very busy streets and buildings. Hey Naruto, why don't you jump from the window to escape? You can land on one of those roofs to decrease the falling impact. Naruto blinked his eyes multiple times before chuckling. You know, looks like great minds do think alike. I was thinking the same thing. Shinten also chuckled and said. Then who are you waiting for? Go ahead. Naruto mentally nodded and opened the window to jump from it and escape the place. But before he could escape, a small dart filled with alcohol with sleeping properties hit his neck and caused him to fall to the ground with a thud. Naruto tried its best to not fall unconscious again. But the alcohol was too strong even for Naruto. With the last of his strength, he glared at the man who hit him with a dart. The man is wearing a white cloak with a hoodie on the top. He has long black hair with red bangs on each side, brown eyes and a mole on the top of his nose. Under the cloak, the man is wearing black jeans with white belt, blue t-shirt and black boots. The man looks like an American, but Naruto obviously didn't know about it. The man who's responsible for the action looked at him with a smirk. He then held an unknown device close to his ear and started to talk in an unknown language. Before getting unconscious, the last thing he remembered is a black cloth covering his mouth. And after that, everything got blank. Chapter 11, Unknown Place. Somewhere in Bangkok of Thailand, there was an active church where people were praying to their god. But the ones who are praying are the exorcists. The exorcists are the ones who are tasked with killing devils, fallen angels, vampires and other demonic creatures that are harmful to humans. But these exorcists are different. Instead of bringing the potential holy sword, or holy magic users, they kidnap them and train them ruthlessly until they give their loyalty only to the church and its god only. In a certain training ground, a man with black dress and black boot is currently training a 6-year-old girl with chin-length blue hair with a green fringe on the right side, and dark yellow eyes. She is wearing a black and blue training clothes, which consistent of black t-shirt and blue short. The girl is currently huffing in tiredness. She has a lot of bruises and cuts on her body. There were also many cuts on the clothes. Zenobia, at this rate, you will never be able to hold the Excalibur destruction in your hand. Maybe I should? Before he could finish his sentence, he was cut off by the girl now named Zenobia. And no, please Olsen-sama, give me another chance. I'm begging you. She then started to kneel down and put her head on the ground. Please, she begged. The guy now named Olsen sighed and glared at her. It's gonna be your one and only last chance. Mess it up and next, your head will be separated from your shoulder. Zenobia shivered at the thought, but she kept her stoic expression and simply nodded. Yes, Olsen-sama, understood. Olsen is now going back to his praying while ordering the other exorcist to take her to the church's underground prison. While she was dragged by the other exorcist, she silently cried and dropped some tears from her eyes, but didn't make any noises. She is not gonna give them the enjoyment of seeing her so broken. Please, someone save me. These were her last thoughts before unconsciousness claimed her body. In the entrance of the church, the same guy who knocked our knucklehead hero into unconsciousness came to the church, with him still being unconscious on the guy's shoulder. When he entered the church with Naruto on his shoulder, everyone looked at them with a raised eyebrow. The guy simply smirked and told them that this kid is just a new addition. Everyone nodded and went back to their prayers, while the guy went closer to the altar and pressed a nearby button. Suddenly, a secret pathway has opened and the guy went inside it. Currently, he is walking through stairs and soon reaches the large maze-looking underground hall. The walls and ceilings are white, and there are many rooms that are currently empty and locked, except for one. If people weren't associated with the maze, they might get lost and won't be able to go out without getting help from outside. Before the guy's entrance to the church, the other exorcist is carrying Zenobia on his shoulder. Before the guy, This exorcist came way before and already entered the secret pathway. After roaming around the maze for 5 minutes, he finally found the room that he was looking for and tossed her inside and locked the door from outside. When she hit the ground, she groaned in pain. She couldn't even move a single muscle and laid down on the ground. When the exorcist left, she slowly stood up and saw that she was in her small prison, again. The prison is just a single room with a small bed, one small bookshelf with many books, a small sink, and a toilet separated from the room. At least they are not that cruel, and made the toilet separately. The wall of the room is just like a real prison wall, a concrete wall. After laying down for a moment, she slowly stood up with a painful grunt, and went to her bed. She then sat at the near corner and hugged her legs, while sobbing and shedding tears from her eyes. She squeezed her eyelids and tried to stop the tears. At one moment, the tears did stop. But after a second or two, she starts sobbing and her tears start to fall again. With the mysterious guy. The guy has now started to look for the room where he is planning to lock him up. After roaming around the maze, he finally found the room that he was looking for. The room, coincidentally, was right beside Zenovia's. The room was identical except for the bookshelf, and there were no books for obvious reasons. The guy tossed Naruto into the room and locked the door. Zenovia, who was crying for a while, suddenly jolted upwards at the sound of a thud right from the room beside hers. With curiosity, she put her ears on the wall and tried to hear what was going on the other side, but she couldn't hear anything, except for the sound of the door getting locked. After that, nothing could be heard. Zenovia, being a smart girl, quickly understood that someone was forcefully brought into this church, and whoever was brought was definitely unconscious the whole time. Since Zenovia was also brought here forcefully, she couldn't help but feel sympathetic for the person who was on the other side. Even though she felt sympathetic, she didn't care that much and decided to read a book. She always read a book to get rid of any stress she felt. After deciding what book she wanted to read, she quickly wiped the tears from her eyes and went to her bookshelf to get the book. After tracing her finger on the books, she found the book that she wanted to read and took it out. When she looked at the book, a pink dust formed on her cheek at reading the title of the book. Destiny of Love. This was one of her favorite books. This is a book about two people getting kidnapped by a devil who wants to turn them into a devil like him. The first one who was kidnapped was a girl who was first trained brutally before turning into a devil. She was trained so brutally that she might have died if it wasn't for her special ability to heal any damage on her body, no matter how serious the injuries are. A few days ago, the devil brought another person. And this time, it was a boy. The boy was kept in a separate room besides hers. Blah blah blah, and at the end, they escaped the devil and got together like a couple. The end. Back to reality. Zenovia read this book at least more than 20 times. When she finished reading the book, she released a happy sigh and started to daydreaming about getting rescued by a knight in shining armor. While she was daydreaming, our knucklehead hero opened his eyes and groaned in discomfort. Damn, it feels like my head will blow up any second. He then tried to get up from the concrete floor, but failed and he face planted on the ground with a thud. He stayed there like that for a while, and didn't move any muscle. But he is Naruto Uzumaki and giving up is not in his dictionary, so he tried again and this time, he succeeded and managed to stand up with a grunt. Ah! My head. Why is it hurting so much? He thought before Shiten decided to speak up. It's because that person has just used some sort of drugs to knock you out and brought you here. Naruto blinked and soon realized what was happening. So basically, I was kidnapped? He asked through his mental link. Shiten hummed for a moment before mentally nodded. Yep, that's exactly what happened, he said in a carefree manner. Naruto also hummed and started to look around to see where he is exactly. By the looks of the room, he figured out that this is some sort of prison and there's only one exit. The iron door that's locked from outside. When Naruto saw the door, he scoffed at thinking that his kidnapper thought that a normal iron door would stop him from breaking out. Quickly shaking his amusement, he went closer to the door and got ready to punch it, but was stopped by Shiten. Naruto! Stop! The moment he heard stop, he immediately stopped thrusting his fist in midair, and it was a few centimeters away from the door. Naruto looked at the space with confusion. What happened, Shiten? Why did you tell me to stop? Shiten didn't answer for a moment before saying, Naruto, I want you to put your hand on the door. Naruto was even more confused but did what he was told. The moment he touched, he felt some sort of resistance from the door. It's like it's trying to repel his hand. Huh, Shiten, it feels like the door is trying to push my hand, Naruto said, which Shiten simply nodded. I knew it. The moment you woke up, I felt some sort of energy surrounding this room. It wasn't chakra but a different kind of energy. Naruto widened his eyes at hearing this bit of information. What do you mean by a different kind of energy? Shiten scratched the back of his head while chuckling. To be honest, even I don't know what this energy was. Naruto almost face planted to the ground. And here I thought you would know. Shiten took a little offense to that. Hey! I'm also new to this world just like you, okay? Naruto sheepishly chuckled and rubbed the back of his head. Yeah, I guess so. Shiten huffed while Naruto shook his head in amusement. I guess the only thing we can do is wait for someone to open this door. He then sat down and took a meditating stance. Shiten silently agreed while also taking a meditating stance and soon fell asleep. After waiting for hours, the iron door finally started to open. When Naruto heard the sound of something getting unlocked, he half opened his one eye to see, but soon closed it again and simply ignored. Shiten, someone is coming, Naruto mentally told his partner. Shiten, who was snoring in the subconscious, suddenly opened his eyes and started to look around. Ha ha ha, oh hello Naruto. Did you say something? He asked, which Naruto mentally face-palmed at his antics. Shiten nervously chuckled when he imagined Naruto's expression. Shiten, I said someone is coming. Naruto told him again, which Shiten finally noticed and narrowed his eyes. Slowly, the door fully opened and revealed the same guy who kidnapped Naruto for unknown reasons. Chapter 12, Meet the Leader. When the guy entered the room, he was surprised to see that Naruto was already awake and sat on the ground in a meditative stand. He slightly raised his guard and cautiously approached him. When he saw no reaction from Naruto, he thought that he might be asleep and tried to grab him, but soon he realized that it was a very stupid idea. The moment he brought his hand closer, another hand grabbed his wrist in a blur, and squeezed it so hard that it made a sickening bone-cracking noise. The guy wanted to scream but instead bit his tongue and grunted in pain. He slowly looked at Naruto and flinched at meeting his gaze. Dark brown eyes meeting sapphire blue. When Naruto noticed his pained expression, he looked at his wrist and let it go. The guy quickly moved his hand away and started to rub it to soothe the pain that he felt from the grip. After rubbing it for a moment, he glared at Naruto, who simply ignored it and asked him a question. So who are you, and why did you bring me here? He asked with a cold tone. Even though he didn't understand his words, he definitely understood the cold voice and felt a shiver at the back of his spine. The guy quickly masked his feared expression and said something in a different language which Naruto didn't understand. Naruto looked at him confused. When the guy looked at him, he gave the guy a confused look before shaking his head, telling him that he didn't understand. The guy gave a heavy sigh before urging him to follow. At first, Naruto was very suspicious. But when he found no deception, he decided to follow him wherever he was taking. When Naruto walked behind him through the maze, he looked around with widened eyes and a gaping mouth. What the heck is this place? How the hell does he remember all those paths? He thought, being in awe at seeing this long, almost unending maze. The guy, who brought him here in the first place, is now being very cautious around our blonde knucklehead. He took a glance at Naruto through his shoulder and unconsciously, he started to massage his broken wrist and winced at the pain he felt. Damn, this kid is incredibly strong. I never imagined that there was a human kid who holds the strength of a gorilla. He then started to shake his head. No, a gorilla's grab is even more softer than his. His was just unnatural. If he didn't release an aura of a human, I would have thought he was a devil or a fallen angel. He then looked forward and led Naruto to his leader. I have to be careful around this kid. Whoever this boy is, he is definitely not normal. A few minutes has passed and they were still walking through the confusing and random paths. Naruto was getting very annoyed. If they don't stop, he will blow up any second and might decide to go on a hardcore pranking mission that he really likes to do. But for their incredible luck, their god decided to save them from the wrath of the prankster demon known as Naruto Uzumaki. After taking the left path, they saw a long hall that leads to a white door with a CCTV camera at the top. The guy slowly leads Naruto towards the door. Before Naruto could move, the time had stopped and everything became white and blue. Naruto wasn't even fazed and knew what was going on. Slowly, Shiten appeared right beside Naruto and stared at the door with narrowed eyes. Naruto, whatever you do, be careful. I felt a very ominous aura coming from the door. Naruto nodded and everything got back to normal. Shiten disappeared and time started to move again. Naruto blinked his eyes and started to follow the guy in silence. When they both stopped right in front of the door, the guy gave a few knocks before taking a step back and waited for a response. Come in. A rough voice came from behind the door. The moment the person spoke up, the door automatically opened, which kinda freaked him out, but he prevented himself from screaming like a little girl. All he did was just widened his eyes and gaped at seeing the door open itself. When Naruto saw the amused look from the guy, he quickly recovered and glared at him before going inside. The guy shook his head before he also entered the room. Inside the room, it was dark and very quiet. The only light source you can see is some torches hanging on the wall. In the middle of the room, there's a small desk with 3 chairs, one on the other side and 2 on the front. On the chair of the other side of the table, a guy with raven black hair, one large bang on the right side which is curved to the left side, bright brown eyes, a goatee and a twisted smile that's hidden between his 2 fists. He is wearing a black and white robe, with black boots, and a cross necklace on his neck. He is currently sitting on the chair while staring at Naruto with interest, and a twisted smile on his lips. Naruto noticed his smile, but he didn't feel disgusted nor intimidated, and stared right back at the person with his cold, sapphire blue eyes. Now don't get him wrong, Naruto is nothing like that. But because of the war and his childhood hardships, he learned to read people's facial expressions and determine how to act accordingly. In this case, he will act cold, and will show no fear against the person. They both stared at each other, and didn't move a single muscle. They didn't even blink and kept staring at each other. Until the guy who brought Naruto spoke up. Olsen-sama, do you remember the boy that I found in the hospital? The guy asked in a different language. The person now named Olsen looked at the guy and nodded. Yes, I remember. What about it? He asked with a raised eyebrow. The guy then gestured Naruto with his hand. This is the boy I was talking about. But apparently, he doesn't understand our language. When I met him, I think he asked me something in Korean or Japanese. I didn't understand what he was saying, so I brought him here. Olsen narrowed his eyes and carefully looked at Naruto to study his facial structure. When he carefully looked at Naruto, he realized that his face does look like Japanese, but his hair looks more like an American. And he also noted the whisker-like marks on his cheeks. Olsen then stared back at Naruto's cold sapphire blue eyes, and asked him a question in Chinese to see if he understands. When he saw no reaction from Naruto, he decided to try in Korean. But Naruto still didn't say anything, and this time, he tried in Japanese. Boy, who are you? He asked in Japanese. When Naruto heard him speaking in the same language as his, he slightly widened his eyes and noticed the guy's accent. Whoa, now he speaks just like me, but a bit differently at the same time. He thought before staring at Olsen and decided to answer his question. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. He only gave his name, and didn't want to give too much information about himself. After all, they are strangers and also the ones who kidnapped him. When he spoke, Olsen narrowed his eyes in suspicion. Naruto, you say? Why do you speak in this accent? He asked. Naruto slightly tilted his head to the right and blinked. Accent? What's that? He asked, which caused Olsen to raise an eyebrow. Accent is like talking in the same language, but a bit differently and with a bit different words. He said, which Naruto nodded in understanding. Even though he didn't know what language was, he guessed that it was a way of saying, communicating with people in different styles. When Olsen sees him nod in understanding, he decides to ask him another question. Since you talk in Japanese, you should be in Japan, shouldn't you? Naruto gave him a confused look. Japanese? Japan? What the hell are those? He asked. Olsen now narrowed his eyes and sent him a glare. Boy, do not fool around me, I'm serious. He said in a threatening tone. Naruto just shook his head and gave him a confused look. I'm serious. I have no idea what you're talking about. Now it's time for Olsen to get confused. Did he live a life outside of civilization? He thought before asking him another question. Boy, do you know where you exactly come from? Naruto gave him a flat answer. In the forest. Olsen slightly widened his eyes but soon nodded in understanding. So he has no connection with any factions. Good, since he has no family nor does he have a home, I can turn him into an exorcist and use him for our own benefits. He then started to chuckle to himself. When Naruto heard his chuckling, he immediately understood what Olsen was thinking. If he thinks that he can make me into his personal pet, then he is welcome to try, he thought with an angry expression, which he hid inside his expressionless cold mask. Olsen finally stopped chuckling, and looked at Naruto like a predator. Boy, from now on, you will stay here and be loyal to this church. Naruto narrowed his eyes and was about to protest, but soon was cut off by the killing intent that was released by Olsen himself. No more questions, and this is final. You will either be loyal to our god, or be sacrificed in the name of our god. Now Naruto is pissed. He wanted to lash at him and kick this guy's ass all the way to the moon, but was stopped by Shinten. Naruto, don't do anything idiotic. Your body is still weak and won't be able to handle the damages that will be inflicted by this man. He is not an ordinary human and I can sense it. For now, listen to him and soon we will make a plan to escape. And plus, like this we can gather information about this world. One part of him wanted to kick his ass, but the other part of him thought rationally and agreed with the otsutsuki. Reluctantly, he decided to listen to Shinten and play along with Olsen. He gave Olsen a nasty glare before closing his eyes and nodding his head. When Olsen saw him nod with his eyes closed, he gave a sickening smirk before lowering his killer intent, and told his almost freaked out exorcist to take him back to his prison cell. When Naruto and the guy left the room, he started to chuckle like a madman before that chuckle turned into a full-blown laughter. Ha 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 ha. Soon I will show that church that only ruthlessness can make them stronger, not being kind-hearted. He thought before laughing some more. Chapter 13 Greetings. Next day, Naruto slowly woke up from his ramen dream, and blinked his eyes multiple times before stifling a yawn. He stretched his hands upwards and tried to crack his back. With one pop, he released a satisfied sigh. He then sat on the bed and started to rub his eyes to get rid of any sleepiness that was left. He opened one eye while still rubbing the other. Gee, good morning, yawned Shinten. Shinten also woke up and did the same. John, good morning, Naruto. Did you sleep well? Shinten asked. Yawn, yeah, I did, I guess. Better than sleeping on the ground, he said. Shinten gave a last yawn before chuckling. I remember how you slept on the ground, while trying to kill those very small flying insects that were trying to bite you and suck your blood. A tick mark grew on his forehead. Don't remind me of that. Thanks to those annoying insects, I couldn't sleep peacefully for 3 days. He then gave a last yawn before getting off the bed. Man, I swear, they were even more annoying than Shino's bugs, he thought before going to the sink and finishing his morning business. A few minutes later, Naruto is now sitting on the ground in a meditative stand. He is breathing in and out very slowly. So slow that it might look like he is just a statue and not a living being himself. Even though he is in a calm, peaceful dream, he is still aware of his surroundings. The door suddenly unlocked and entered the same guy from yesterday. When the guy saw Naruto in a meditative stand, he decided to take a different approach since he still remembered the incident where his wrist almost got crushed by Naruto. He quickly shook off the phantom pain and slowly approached Naruto with a stick that he got from who knows where. He then started to poke Naruto's forehead to see if he woke up. When he saw no reaction, he poked him again and still got no reaction. The guy sighed in relief before quickly wiping the sweat away from his forehead, and slowly moved his hand towards Naruto's shoulder to shake him so he wakes up. But unfortunately, Naruto noticed and caught his wrist in a blur and held it tightly. He didn't notice the guy's fearful expression and kept holding in the air. Naruto slowly tightened his grip and made a crunching noise which made the guy shed crocodile anime tears. The guy thought that Naruto might rip his wrist from his hand, but fortunately, Naruto decided to let him go this time and gave him a foxy grin. The guy quickly moved his hand away and cradled it like it was a valuable glass that might break if a little bit of pressure is given. The guy gave him a very nasty look which told him that soon, he will take his revenge. Naruto just shrugged and simply walked away, leaving the guy behind. When the guy noticed, he got up and quickly caught up to Naruto. They were walking through the maze in silence. None of them spoke a single thing. They didn't need any conversation since they both speak different languages. Naruto and the guy finally reached the exit of the underground prison. When Naruto got out and saw the church, he was mesmerized at seeing the interior of the church. There were so many different types of light hanging through the ceiling, so many funny but cool-looking paintings on the walls, and so many benches and lines. If Naruto wanted to explain this church, then only one thing came into his mind. Daimyo's school. Yep, it literally looks like an expensive school made by our daimyo, he thought in awe. Before Naruto could admire the place even more, someone spoke to him from behind. So I take that you have taken a liking to this place? Olsen asked, which made Naruto almost jump in surprise. He quickly spun around and noticed Olsen standing right behind him. But he was not standing alone. To his right side, a small petite girl, the same age as him, with chin-length blue hair that has a green fringe on the right side, and two dark yellow eyes who's currently staring at him with curiosity. When Naruto took a look at the girl, only one thing came to his mind. Cute. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, our knucklehead hero said it a bit loudly, which was heard by the girl and Olsen himself. When the girl heard his compliment, she couldn't help but feel a little bit flustered and happy at the same time. Flustered because it's very obvious, and happy because he was the first boy who called her cute. After that compliment, she couldn't help but also took a look at Naruto. What she saw made her blush even more. Naruto, whose age is the same as her, with spiky golden blonde hair like the color of the sun, sapphire blue eyes like the deep ocean itself, and last, those 3 whisker marks on each cheek which gave him the look of a fox. She couldn't help but think that he is also cute, and those whisker marks made him even more cuter. Of course, she is not an idiot nor a moron like our knucklehead and didn't say it loudly. Naruto, who didn't even realize what he just said, kept staring at the dark yellow eyes with his sapphire blue eyes. When she looked at Naruto's sapphire blue eyes, she couldn't help but drown at his calm and deep oceanic blue eyes, which gives her the feeling of calm and safety. Before they knew it, she unconsciously walked towards Naruto and stood right in front of him, their noses almost touching each other's. They didn't even blink and kept staring at each other without a care in the world. Olsen, who was watching all this drama, felt very annoyed and kept getting angrier and angrier. And before they knew it, he blew up and shouted at the top of his lungs. I didn't bring you 2 brats here to become love birds at first sight. That shout finally broke them from their staring. They blinked multiple times before noticing their closeness. They quickly jumped away from each other and looked away with a pink blush on their cheeks. Olsen shook his head before calming down and introduced the girl. This is Zenovia, the next holy sword wielder in training. He then pointed a finger at Naruto and was about to introduce him, but Naruto beat him to it. Yo, I'm Naruto Uzumaki and it's very nice to meet you. He extended his hand, gesturing for a handshake while giving her his foxy grin. Zenovia, who looked away for a while, shyly looked at Naruto before staring at his stretched-out hand. She nervously played with her fingers before shyly extended her hand, and shook it with his. Hi, I'm Zenovia. It's very nice to meet you too, she said before shyly looked at him, and gave him her smile. But it wasn't her usual fake smile, it was her true smile which she didn't show quite often. She didn't know why, but she felt like showing her true smile to Naruto. It took Olsen's all his willpower to not lash at Naruto, and kill him for interrupting him. He slowly took a deep breath before calming down, and looked at Naruto and Zenovia with a sickening smile. Zenovia hasn't noticed since she was facing Naruto, but Naruto definitely did and slightly narrowed his eyes in suspicion. Before Naruto could understand his motives, the sickening smile he gave suddenly turned into a smirk and slowly approached them with a hidden excitement on his eyes. When Zenovia noticed Naruto's certain shift on his eyes, she slowly turned around to see where he was looking at, and soon also noticed that Olsen is slowly approaching them. The moment she locked eyes with Olsen, she started to feel very scared at realizing that today was her last chance to prove that she is capable of using the Excalibur destruction. But she didn't feel confident enough to do the test once more. Olsen was coming closer and closer. The closer he came, the more frightened she felt. Naruto, seeing her trembling body, realized that she was very frightened. He didn't know why she felt like that, but he knew it was something to do with Olsen. Olsen was a few meters away from them, and with each step, he kept coming closer. But he suddenly stopped and saw Naruto standing protectively in front of Zenobia, with his one hand stretched and keeping Zenobia behind him. Before Naruto or Zenobia herself knew it, she started to hug his waist with her trembling hand, while fearfully staring at the man in front of them. "What do you want from us? Why did you bring us here?" Naruto asked while glaring at Olsen. Olsen didn't move this time and gave both Naruto and Zenobia a very sickening smirk. "Boy, how much do you know about our world?" Olsen asked with that same smirk. Naruto shook his head while still glaring at Olsen. "No, I know nearly to nothing about our world," he said. Even though technically he wasn't born in this world, he's still living here, which technically makes it his world as well. When Olsen realized that Naruto is still a child, and he lived in the wild and he had no one to tell him about this world, so he decided to give him some information about this world. "Okay, I will indulge your curiosity about our world a little bit, boy, so listen carefully. This world where we live is filled with supernatural beings with great powers, which consist of angels, fallen angels, and devils. Those beings are from Christian mythology, or you can say religion that was created by our God. We people in the church are also known as exorcists, whose job is only to exterminate devils and other evil beings that are harmful to other human beings. You see, God and his angels love humans, and those devils and other evil beings are harming humans. So we people who believe in God decided to create a group known as exorcists who protect humanity from those evils." Naruto gave him a flat look. "So what? What does it have to do with us?" he asked. Olsen looked at Naruto and spoke. "Because in the world, we have 3 main churches who train the exorcists, and the ones who have the potential to use the holy swords." He then pointed a finger at Zenobia. "This girl is a natural holy sword user and has the potential to use the holy sword that our church possesses right now, the Excalibur Destruction, made from one of the Excalibur fragments that were distributed between those 3 churches." Naruto raised an eyebrow. "The way you're saying as if like this church is not one of those." Olsen gave him a smirk. "Good, I can see you're a smart boy. Yes, this church is not one of those." Naruto kept his cold expression before he narrowed his eyes. "Then how did you?" Before he finished his sentence, something clicked in his mind. He widened his eyes before glaring at Olsen, who gave him a smug look. "So you have stolen that sword from one of those churches," he stated, which caused Olsen to burst out laughing. "Ha ha 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 ha. Chapter 14. A new friendship has born. Ha 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 ha. Your deduction skills are very impressive." "Yes, I did. And you know what, kid?" He then came even closer, their noses almost touching each other's. "Soon, I will make an army of very strong exorcists to finally show those churches how to make a real, fearless exorcist who will do anything to destroy any evil and show no mercy." He then glared at Zenobia, who couldn't help but shrunk under his gaze. "But this girl is absolutely pathetic. Even though she meant to be a natural holy sword user, she can't even lift the Excalibur. Not even for once." He then looked at Naruto with a smirk. "But you have potential. Not only for magic, but you might be able to hold the Excalibur with the right training. I can sense a lot of power inside of you." He then glared at Zenobia once more. "Besides, I gave this girl one last chance. If she can't hold the Excalibur, then I have to finish her for good. Here's the next chapter." Author: Hello guys. How are you all? Hope you're doing well. I want to tell everyone that I have finished writing chapter 14, 15 and 16. On Thursday I will upload the next chapter, and on Friday I will upload the 16th chapter. After Friday, I will start upload 1 chapter each week. Man, my fingers are sore after writing those chapters. Anyway, please enjoy." Naruto noticed Zenobia's sad expression, and frowned at seeing her tears and shaking shoulders. He looked at Olsen and gave him a cold glare while growling like an angry animal. "Even though she can't lift the Excalibur, it doesn't mean you can just kill anyone who can't do things according to your expectation. She is still young just like me. You can't just force people to learn stuff quickly. Things like this always take hard work, determination, time, and a lot of guts to never give up." He then narrowed his eyes and pointed his fist right in front of Olsen's face. "And I can see it, she is not too far from holding the sword that you speak of. Anyone with good eyes and common sense can see how hard she works. You're just being an impatient bastard who doesn't know how to wait." Zenobia was shocked. No one has ever defended her before. In the church, every kid always bullied her and makes fun of her for not being able to lift the Excalibur Destruction, despite her being a natural holy sword user. And also the reason why she didn't have any friends. So you can see her surprise when this boy who she recently met stood up for her and defended her even though they are not friends yet. She hoped that they could become friends. She doesn't know why, but she wanted to be friends with him and want to know him better. The moment she looked at his eyes, she knew that Naruto is nothing like the other boys. She can't really explain it, she just felt it like that. While defending, Naruto noticed and said how hard she works and how she is not far from lifting the Excalibur. She felt both of her cheeks heated up and looked up at him, before shyly looking away to hide her growing blush. Olsen narrowed his eyes and glared at Naruto dangerously. Watch your mouth, boy. I can destroy you with a blink of an eye. He then looked at Zenobia and scoffed. And besides, only an idiot would say that hard work can accomplish anything. If you can't learn stuff quickly like a prodigy, then you're nothing else but worthless, a trash who shouldn't be here in the first place. Naruto gritted his teeth. He wanted nothing but to shove 1,000 years of death in his ass so he cannot take a shit for centuries. But soon, he took a deep breath before giving the older guy a smirk. You wanna bet, you stupid old geezer? Olsen grew a vein on his forehead at hearing the stupid old geezer comment. But he also took a deep breath before looking at Naruto with a raised eyebrow. I'm listening. Naruto gave him a foxy grin before pointing at Zenobia, who looked at him with a bit of fear, thinking that he might sell her off for his own benefit. My bet is in 1 month, she can lift the sword with no problem. If she manages to lift the sword, then you will let her go from the church and give her to an orphanage where she can get nice friends and families. Olsen narrowed his eyes in suspicion. He noticed that Naruto didn't include himself, he only asked for Zenobia's freedom. And what's in it for me if I win? Naruto just shrugged. Then I will become your slave and do whatever you asked me to do. I will even become your lab dog or something else if you want. The only thing I ask is to not kill her. He pleaded. Everyone's eyes went wide. They couldn't believe what they heard. Whatever they were expecting, this wasn't it. Zenobia is now openly crying. She never expected Naruto to risk his own life for her freedom and safety. She felt horrible for unintentionally putting Naruto into this mess, but she also felt very happy to hear that someone is risking its life just to protect her. Olsen was a bit surprised. He didn't expect Naruto to give his life just to protect someone who he just recently met. He gave him a very nasty grin which made his skin crawl in disgust. Alright boy, if that's what you want. If you want to throw away your life just to protect this worthless piece of shit, then who am I to deny? Sure, let's bet. He then brought his right hand forward to give him a handshake, which Naruto accepted and shook his hand, sealing the deal for the next 1 month. Olsen stared at Zenobia's teary eyes before giving her that nasty grin. I will give you some slacks today. So go and enjoy your last freedom. Tomorrow you will be trained by this boy. And I can't wait to see how he will train you, he said with a hard laugh at the end. Naruto clenched his fist, and Zenobia is still sobbing while unknowingly still hugging Naruto. Ha 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 ha. After finishing his laugh, he wiped an imaginary tear with his finger. Before walking towards the guy who was standing on the exit of the church, he leaned towards his ears and whispered. Alessio, I want you to keep an eye on that boy and see if he has some sort of powers or not. The guy now named Alessio nodded his head. Yes, Olsen-sama, understood. Olsen nodded and soon walked away from Alessio. Alessio looked at the two children and smirked, before also walking away, leaving those two alone. Naruto released a frustrated sigh before looking down at Zenobia, who was still hugging him while staring at the leaving Olsen. Naruto didn't realize but his hands were also wrapped around her back, when he spun around to stare at Olsen while he was leaving. When Olsen finally left the church, she also released a sigh before she shyly looked at Naruto and met his gaze on her. Dark yellow eyes met sapphire blue. They stared at each other for a while before both slowly looked down. When they saw what both were doing, Zenobia released an eep with a red face and quickly separated herself from Naruto, whose cheeks are also red in embarrassment. Naruto quickly bowed in front of her and started to sweat in fear. In his world, kunoichis or other females usually beat him up for doing this kind of things, so you can see his fear of getting slapped or other violent actions. I am really sorry for suddenly doing this from out of nowhere. I'm really sorry. He apologized with a feared tone, expecting an outburst or a slap on his face. But nothing came. When Zenobia saw him bowing and apologizing, she quickly shook her head. And no, you don't need to apologize to me. It's me who should apologize. She then bowed as well. I am sorry for. Before she could finish her sentence, Naruto cut her off. No, it's fine. Besides, I understand why you would do that. That guy was very creepy, he said with a frown. She slightly raised her head and also frowned. He is. She nodded in agreement. She then looked at him, and her eyes started to get watery. Why? Naruto looked at her in confusion. Why what? He asked. Her eyes got even more watery. Why would you risk your life just to save me? We don't even know each other, and yet you still defended me. Why? She then looked down, and tears started to fall from her eyes. Naruto's expression got softened, and he slowly walked towards her. He then stood right in front of her before he put his right index finger under her chin, and slowly raised her head up to look at him. He then wiped her tears with his left thumb and smiled at her. When she saw his smile, a pink tint formed on her cheeks. But she didn't look away and kept staring into his sapphire blue eyes. You asked me why I risked my life to save you, right? She nodded. Naruto gave her his true smile. Not a mask but a true smile. It's because I wanted to. When I see someone who needs help, I can't just stand there and do nothing. And besides, I saw a lot of pain and loneliness hidden behind those beautiful eyes. So I decided to help. When he called her eyes beautiful, her cheeks got an even bigger shade of red. She shyly looked away and said something under her breath. It was so quiet that Naruto didn't even hear what she said. Huh? Can you please say that again? I didn't hear you. This time she said it a bit loudly, while still looking to the side. Do you really mean it? Are my eyes really that beautiful? She asked. Naruto gave her a foxy grin and nodded. Of course I mean it. You have the most beautiful eyes I've ever seen. It's like I'm looking at two very beautiful and sparkling gems that can grant me any wishes I want. When she heard the beautiful and sparkling part, her blush deepened. But when she heard him saying the wish part, she couldn't help but giggle. Any wishes? Do you seriously believe that? She asked with a giggle. When Naruto heard her giggle, he couldn't help but think that she sounded very cute. He still kept his trademark foxy grin while bringing his hands together at the back of his head. He nodded. Who knows? Maybe it's true, he said with a chuckle. Both Naruto and Zenobia giggled and chuckled, before Naruto asked her a question. Zenobia, right? Since I'm new here, can you show me around this place? Zenobia stopped giggling and looked at Naruto with surprise. Why you want me to show you around? Naruto nodded. Yeah, I mean now we are friends and all, you know? Naruto looked at Zenobia, who looked down and started to shed tears from her eyes. Naruto saw that and mentally panicked. Wait, why is she crying? Did I say something wrong? Oh no, what do I do? He thought before frantically waving his hands. I mean, if you don't feel comfortable being my friend, then it's fine. He then stopped waving his hands and looked down in sadness, thinking that she doesn't want to be his friend in this world. But his thought was interrupted by two small and soft hands grabbing his. He looked up and saw Zenobia smiling at him with a pink blush on her cheeks. She then shook her head. And no, it's nothing like that. I would love to be your friend. She then shyly looked away. And I won't mind showing you around. When she said that, Naruto gave her that same foxy grin before grabbing one of her hands and starting to walk in a random direction. Then who are we waiting for? Let's go, he said it a bit energetically. Zenobia couldn't help but giggle at his energetic behavior, and like that, Zenobia started to show him around the church. Chapter 15. The chakra is back. It has been 3 hours since Zenobia showed Naruto around the church. They are now sitting on a bench in a nearby park. They didn't speak for a long time and kept staring at the sunset in a comfortable silence. The sunlight has engulfed the whole park in orange. When the sun had completely set, stars started to appear in the sky. They both looked up and stared at the sky in awe. Zenobia slowly looked at Naruto and blushed at seeing his smile and peaceful look. Unknown to Naruto, Zenobia came even closer and stared at him for a long time. At first, she didn't realize, but the longer she stared at Naruto, the more she realized that from Naruto's eyes, tears started to fall all the way to his chin. She doesn't know why, but she felt a pang on her heart at seeing him like this. Now, she wants nothing but to somehow comfort him, so she went closer to him and softly held one of his hands, while rubbing the top with her thumb. When Naruto was looking at the sky, he couldn't help but shed tears at thinking about his past in the elemental nations. His friends, his people, his comrade, his world, everything is now gone. By now, the moon had already crashed and annihilated the whole world completely. While he was thinking, his breath suddenly hitched at feeling someone's hand holding his. He slowly looked to the side and saw Zenobia holding his hand while looking at him in concern. Are you alright, Naruto? She asked while raising her other hand, cupping his cheek while wiping the tears with her thumb. For a second, he felt absolutely speechless. In his life, no one had showed this much affection to him, not even Tsunade, his own godmother. He slowly raised his hand and gently grabbed the hand that was on his cheek. He squeezed it before he gave her a smile which made her blush. Thanks for asking, Zenobia-chan, but I'm alright now. I was just thinking about the past, that's all. Zenobia blushed even more when Naruto used the suffix, chan. It's no problem. If you feel sad or you have any other problems, then you can always talk to me anytime you want. I will always be here to listen to you. Naruto gave her a thankful smile. I will, and the same thing goes for you too. Before they could talk more, someone spoke from the entrance of the park. Oi, you fucking lovebirds. If you're done chattering with each other, then quickly come back to your prison cell. It's too late. Olsen spoke from the entrance. Naruto and Zenobia both groaned in annoyance, but soon reluctantly stood up and followed Olsen. Inside the maze, Olsen is now escorting them to their prison cell while taking some glances at Naruto. Boy, soon I will find out what's that power you're hiding, and after that, I will start my own holy sword project. He thought with an evil smirk, before looking straight forward. After taking a turn, they soon reached their respective prison cell, which was coincidentally right beside each other. When Naruto and Zenobia realized that, they looked at each other before busting out into giggles and laughter. When they finally stopped giggling and laughing, Naruto looked at her and gave her a smile. Thank you, Zenobia-chan, for showing me around the church. I had a lot of fun today. Zenobia gave him a smile as well. You're welcome, Naruto-kun. And I also had a lot of fun. Olsen was patiently waiting, while Naruto and Zenobia said goodbye to each other before entering their respective prison. Inside the prison, Naruto is now lying down on the bed with a happy smile on his face. After the Fourth War, and the survival he did in the forest, it was very refreshing for him. He was about to shut his eyes and go to sleep, but his consciousness was suddenly pulled into his subconscious. While Naruto was sitting after getting pulled into his subconscious, Shinten suddenly appeared in front of his bed while standing with his arms crossed. Naruto, I have a good news and a bad news, he said with a nervous chuckle. Naruto narrowed his eyes and asked the otsutsuki inside him. What's the good news? Shinten gave a sigh before looking at Naruto seriously. Naruto, I want you to concentrate and go even deeper into your subconscious. There, you will find your good news and your bad news. At first, Naruto was very confused but soon realized what he actually meant. He scrambled around before quickly getting up from the bed and took meditative stands on the ground. He slowly drifted to his deepest subconscious and tried to find the thing he was looking for. Slowly, everything got darker and darker. He half opened one of his eyes and looked for the source he was looking for. But he found nothing, so he closed his eyes again and concentrated harder to find the source. At first, nothing had happened. When he was about to leave the deeper part of his subconscious, he suddenly felt something pulling towards him. He opened his eyes and tried to find the certain pull that he felt. He looked left and right with the corner of his eyes and found nothing. But suddenly, a blue flame appeared right in front of Naruto and started to flicker in front of him. The flame was the size of his palm. When Naruto saw the flame, he couldn't be happier. My chakra! It's here! He exclaimed before settling in confusion. Wait, why my chakra is so small? The last time I saw it, it was the size of an ocean. But now they are. He immediately stopped thinking and quickly snapped his head to the left side to see a different kind of flame. The flame's color is almost transparent but bluish silver. When he looked at the flame, his eyes almost bugged out of his socket. The flame's size is absolutely gigantic. Like he is looking at two different elemental nations combined. What the heck? Do otsutsukis always have this amount of chakra? Man, no wonder why Kagaya was this strong. It's literally infinite. The more he looked at it, the more he felt in awe. But before he could look at it more, he suddenly felt another source of energy right to the right side of his own chakra flame. He was very confused. There shouldn't be more energies beside his and Shinten's. So what's that third energy he's sensing? He quickly moved towards the energy that he was sensing. But before he could look for it, the energy suddenly disappeared. Like it's gone as fast as it came. He narrowed his eyes and tried to sense for it. But found nothing. He sighed and decided to leave the subconscious. Whatever that energy was, it wasn't chakra, that much I know. I have to tell this to Shinten and see what's going on, he thought before completely disappearing from the deeper subconscious. Normal subconscious. Naruto opened his eyes and met Shinten, who was looking at him with curiosity. So I take that you found what I was talking about. Naruto nodded. Yeah, I did. And I have to say, I'm a bit disappointed, he said with a downcasted sigh. My chakra is too small. Like the size of a low jonin. A dark cloud suddenly appeared at the top of his head and started to rain heavily with a thunderstrike. Shinten's sweat dropped at seeing his antics. He gave an amused chuckle before coughing into his hand and gained his attention. Look, Naruto, your body and chakra is now in a developing stage. The amount of chakra you currently have is enough for your current body and chakra coil. In fact, it's perfect. Naruto gave him a confused look. What do you mean by that, Shinten? I mean, since your chakra is currently small, it would be much easier to control. Naruto then banged his fist into his left palm and nodded. I get it now. So it means I can have more jutsus in my arsenal. Shinten nodded. Yeah, you can. But remember, you have to do those chakra control exercises that I saw from your memories. Naruto slumped down his head and shoulder and once more, rain clouds appeared at the top of his head. He muttered something under his breath which Shinten didn't hear it properly. Shinten was about to ask what happened but Naruto suddenly looked up at him, with crocodile tears falling from his eyes. Not those annoying exercises again. I can't even make one shadow clone to help me with those chakra control exercises. It will take me ages to properly control my chakra. Shinten's face planted to the ground at hearing that. Seriously, that's his problem? Didn't he hear what I said before? He thought while his body twitched uncontrollably. He slowly raised his head from the ground and looked at him with narrowed eyes. Naruto, did you already forget what I have said? Naruto blinked multiple times and stopped his crocodile tears before looking at Shinten, who was looking at him in annoyance. Naruto scratched the back of his head before taking a thinking pose and started to think. Even though some of his antics are very amusing, sometimes his antics just annoys you to hell. And Shinten now understood that very well. Shinten slowly stood up and dusted the imaginary dust from his clothes before looking at Naruto with a sigh. Naruto, I told you your chakra is currently small and would be much easier to control. I said you need to do those chakra control exercises to sharpen your control further. It won't even take long before your chakra slowly starts to increase exponentially. And if you don't do the control exercises from the start, then later, you have to do the control exercises more, which will be harder to control. Naruto made an face before sheepishly rubbing the back of his head. Ah, I now understand. He nodded his head while crossing his arms in front of his chest. Shinten just shook his head while chuckling in amusement. Seriously, Naruto, sometimes I think that you do that on purpose. Naruto sheepishly chuckled before he remembered the extra energy he felt. Hey Shinten, did you by any chance feel any other energy source beside ours? Shinten looked at him with a raised eyebrow. No, I haven't. Why do you ask? Naruto put his index finger into his chin and narrowed his eyes. Well, it's because, while I was looking through mine and your enormous amount of chakra, I suddenly felt another energy source for a few seconds before it suddenly just disappeared. Shinten also narrowed his eyes. Another energy source? Naruto nodded. Yeah, and the energy source that I felt is not even chakra. Shinten thought for a second before looking at Naruto. Naruto, for now go to bed. I will check what was that energy source you have felt. If I find something, I will inform you. Naruto gave him a nod. Alright Shinten, I will leave it to you. Well, good night. He said before disappearing from the subconscious. Good night, my friend. He said before also taking a meditative stance and closing his eyes, searching for the unknown energy source through his deepest subconscious. Chapter 16, The Last Day. The last day of the month. It's now the 29th day and Zenobia still has no progress on lifting the Excalibur. The Excalibur just refuses her by repelling her with a strange blue aura. Whenever she tries to lift the Excalibur, the sword just never budges and also repels her away. When Naruto saw the sword for the first time, he couldn't help but think that the sword looks like a combination of a blade with 3 spearheads and a battle axe at the top of the hilt. The design was very unusual, but he didn't judge the looks, since in his world he also had very weird and unusual swords. Like the Executioner's blade, or the Kusanagi blade. Man, they were some very powerful swords. When Naruto was inspecting the blade, he decided to try to lift and hold the sword to see how it feels. Olsen, the elders, the other exorcists and the other children, and Zenobia looked at Naruto with interest when he was about to lift the sword. Naruto didn't know why, but when he got closer to the sword, he felt an unusual aura leaking from the Excalibur, which was holy power, but he didn't know at that time. Once he held the hilt to lift it, he felt some sort of resistance from the sword. But he simply pushed forward and lifted the sword with brute strength. He struggled for a moment, but still kept it in the air while holding with his 2 hands. Everyone who saw him lifting the sword, their jaws dropped all the way to the ground. The children and Zenobia looked at Naruto with awe and in amazement, while the elders and Olsen looked at Naruto with shocked expression. Zenobia thought that Naruto looked cool and also cheered him for lifting the sword, while Olsen just couldn't help but think, is he really a natural holy sword user? The elders were about to think the same thing before something happened. The sword Naruto was holding suddenly radiated a blue aura before it started to glow bright. And when it did, it repelled Naruto so far that he almost crashed into a wall. After repelling Naruto, the sword dropped to the ground with a huge thud while making a 2-foot-deep crater in the ground. And from then, Naruto decided to never lift that weird sword ever again. Currently, Naruto and Zenobia are sparring with each other in hand-to-hand combat. Even though Zenobia is not a hand-to-hand fighter, Naruto still insists her to learn some hand-to-hand combat to protect herself if she somehow loses her sword, and they do that every day before doing other exercises. When Naruto fought her in hand-to-hand for the first time, he found out that she doesn't have any style for hand-to-hand combat. She can punch and kick hard, but very slowly. If she fights with an opponent who moves faster and has more experience, then it would be one-punch knockout for her. And Naruto did that multiple times, to further prove his point of learning more hand-to-hand. Zenobia threw a back right kick at his abdomen, but he simply sidestepped the kick and spun around to give her a hook on the right side of the jaw. She quickly raised her right and left palm to catch the hook, but Naruto just swung his hand to avoid getting caught, and simply swung his right leg backwards to give her a sweep kick to her left leg, causing her to fall to the ground with a thud. Before she could recover, Naruto held her to the ground with his left hand, while holding his right fist in front of her shocked face. They stayed there like that for a few seconds before Naruto slowly moved his fist away from her face, while looking at her with his foxy grin. Guess it's my victory today, he said before raising his body from the ground and held his hand to help her to get up. She owlishly blinked multiple times before snapping from her dazed state and looked at the offering hand with a smile. She gave him a thankful nod before taking his hand, and quickly got up while a pink blush formed on her cheeks. She then looked at Naruto and pouted, which earned her a blush from the blonde who couldn't help but think that she looks very cute. Come on Naruto-kun, you always win, she whined, while giving Naruto her puppy dog eye, which made Naruto froze on the spot. Oh shit! Not that again, he roared in his mind. When she realized that she made him freeze on the spot, she had a teasing smirk on her face before she slowly approached Naruto while fighting the growing blush at thinking, what's she about to do? When she came closer, she slowly leaned in and gave a kiss on his cheek before quickly getting away from the spot with a huge blush. Naruto's brain immediately shut down when her lips made contact with his cheek. He stood there in silence for a few moments, before his brain finally kicked in. He slowly brought his hand to his cheek and gently rubbed it. Huh! What was that about? He thought with a growing blush on his cheeks. While with Zenobia, Zenobia quickly ran away from the training ground and went to a familiar park where she and Naruto went for the first time. She frantically looked around the park before she found an empty spot under a tree. She quickly went there and sat down, while hugging her legs to hide her growing blush from the world. What's wrong with me? Why the hell did I do that? She thought, while trying to not blush harder at thinking the short moment. In these past days, she and Naruto got even closer than before. She will even go as far as to say that they both are best friends, and she wholeheartedly believes that Naruto would say the same thing as well. In their short time, she found out that Naruto is a very goofy, yet very kind and cheerful guy who only radiates enjoyment, warmth, and safety. Sometimes he acts stupid, but when time is needed, he can act surprisingly very smart and make unpredictable strategies that will put you on a loop. And she saw it firsthand when she sparred with him in hand-to-hand combat. But besides that, Naruto is very loyal when it comes to friendship. He is loyal to the point of stupidity. And she couldn't help but like that part of Naruto very much. She doesn't know why, but whenever she thinks about Naruto in her mind, her heart starts to pump so fast that it threatens to burst out of her chest. Whenever she thinks about Naruto, she feels confidence and enjoyment. She just feels something that she can't explain with words. Even though she doesn't know yet, Zenobia has a huge crush on Naruto. With Naruto, Naruto is still standing on the training ground in silence. He is still thinking about the kiss that she gave him on the cheek. Shiten, who saw the whole interaction, is now waiting in anticipation to see what his partner would think about the certain hint that she gave him. After thinking intensely for a while, he simply scratched the back of his head and laughed. Ah ha ha, maybe she just wants to tease me for eating her favorite cookie last time. Shiten immediately face planted to the ground while muttering, "Dense idiot." If Kurama were still alive, he would have smacked his head on the ground while muttering, "Idiot, idiot, 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 idiot." When Shiten said that, Naruto blinked his eyes and looked into the space in confusion. Huh? I didn't hear you properly, Shiten. What did you just say? Shiten just sighed and shook his head. Nothing. He simply answered, "Oh boy, I feel very bad for the poor girl who's fallen for this dense idiot." He thought with a sweat drop before taking his composure and lightly coughed into his fist. Anyway, how's your chakra control exercise going? Naruto swore that he heard him saying something before. But he simply shrugged it off and answered his question. Yeah, it's going fine, I guess. Although I have to say, you weren't kidding when you said that my chakra reserves will soon increase at a rapid pace. My chakra level is now low jonin to high jonin level. It's still nothing when I was before, but still, it is something. He said before taking a sip of water from the water bottle that he kept it under a tree. Shiten nodded. Yeah, it might not be much, but before you know it, it will increase almost at the level of your old partner in about, I say 10 years. When Naruto was in his midway of gulping the water, he immediately spit it out while coughing and pounding his chest violently. When the extra water got out of his windpipe, he started to breathe heavily before he mentally shouted, "What? Shiten, you're joking, right? Back then, I didn't even have that much chakra. I only had 1/4 of the amount of chakra you're telling me right now." Shiten just chuckled. Did you forget already, Naruto? You have eaten the chakra fruit that was made by your old partner, Kurama, and his siblings, and that would obviously boost your chakra capacity and its density. Naruto couldn't help but feel a little freaked out at thinking having that much amount of chakra inside his body. He hopes that he doesn't get blown up like a suicide bomb. When Shiten noticed his concern, he quickly reassured him. You don't have to worry, Naruto. I have turned you into half otsutsuki, so rest assured, your body is now capable of handling a large amount of chakra without turning you into a time bomb. Naruto was still a bit worried, but nodded anyway. Alright Shiten, I trust you, he said before remembering the little scene, and decided to find her to talk to her about the Excalibur sword. Few minutes later, Naruto had looked for her almost everywhere around the church, but he still couldn't find her. The only place he didn't check is the park, so he decided to check the park to see if she was there or not. Chapter 17, Talk in the Park. Naruto is now standing at the entrance of the park. When he looked at the park, he couldn't help but remember the time when he and Zenobia came to this park after she showed him around. A smile formed into his face when he remembered the evening. The way the evening of the sunlight bathed the whole park in orange was beautiful. Nothing like when he watched the sunset from the Hokage monument, but it was still beautiful. Shaking his head, he entered and started to look for her around the park. When he looked left and right, he noticed the familiar blue hair under a tree. He slowly approached and saw her hugging her legs while hiding her head behind them. Naruto thought that she might be sad because she couldn't lift the damn stupid sword, so he decided to talk to her and reassure her that everything is going to be fine, even though that might be a false hope. Zenobia, who was blushing a storm at thinking about what she did, suddenly felt a presence coming towards her. She slowly raised her head and saw her secret crush, which she didn't realize this fact herself, slowly approached her with a concerned look on his face. When she saw him, her heart started to pump at a very rapid speed. The closer he gets, the more redder her face gets. Once Naruto got closer, he kneeled down and noticed her nuclear red face, which she is desperately trying to hide behind her two legs. Naruto put a hand into her shoulder, which caused her to look at him very shyly. Dark yellow eyes met sapphire blue. Naruto looked at her in concern. Zenobia-chan, are you feeling alright? Why is your face so red? Do you have a fever? He said before putting his right hand into her forehead, while putting his left into his. Being oblivious to her feelings, he kept his hand on her forehead, which caused her to go into an even greater shade of red. Before Naruto knew it, she suddenly screamed, which almost gave him a heart attack. The moment she screamed was the moment he moved his hand away from her forehead, and clutched his rapidly beating heart with his eyes as wide as dinner plates. Seeing his surprised expression, she blushed in embarrassment before she lightly coughed into her fist. And no, Naruto-kun, I don't have a fever. My face just got very hot after staying under the sun for too long. Yeah, that's it, my face just got too hot after staying under the sun, she said while laughing and nervously looking anywhere but Naruto. Naruto, being absolutely oblivious, decided to believe her words and just smiled at her. If you say so, Zenobia-chan, he said before also taking a seat right beside her, which caused her to blush once more, but she quickly managed to suppress it. Naruto looked at her and gave her a soft smile. Zenobia-chan, if you can't lift the sword, it's alright. You don't have to be so sad about that. Zenobia was confused for a moment before she realized what he meant. Her suppressed blush immediately vanished, and she got very sad. When he noticed her saddened expression, he put a hand into her shoulder. He was about to speak but was cut off by Zenobia. No, it's not fine, she said while shaking her head. She then looked at Naruto's eyes and started to tear up. Your life is on the line, and the only way I can save you is to lift the Excalibur. If I can't lift it, then she then looked away and started to sob, while tears fell from her eyes. Naruto looked at her for a few moments before bursting out into a full-blown laughter. Zenobia looked at him in shock. Whatever she was expecting, this wasn't it. For a few minutes, Naruto kept laughing while holding his gut in pain, and Zenobia just stared at him with widened eyes and an open mouth. When Naruto finally stopped laughing, he looked at her with his one eye while wiping a drop of tear with his index finger from his other eye. Seriously, Zenobia-chan, you think that I will let that psychopath do whatever he wants with me? He then leaned forward and wiped the tears from her cheek, which earned him a blush. He then closed an eye and pointed a thumb at himself. I'm made of really tough stuff. That stupid psychopath will have to go through a lot of hell before he gets to me, so don't worry about me, okay? He said with a confident grin. Zenobia, despite his reassurance, couldn't help but feel worried for her one and only friend. With reluctance, she nodded her head and decided to trust him. Alright, Naruto-kun, I will trust you. She then stood up and gave him a determined look. But I still have one more day before the end of the bet. So until then, I will train and try to lift the Excalibur destruction. Naruto sighed and gave her a nod. Alright, Zenobia-chan. I wish I could help you more, but besides physical training, I can't help you with that holy energy of yours. That's something you have to figure out yourself. Zenobia gave him a grateful smile. It's okay, Naruto-kun. I know holy energy is not something you understand and it's totally fine, and besides, I'm really grateful for the training you gave me. But now, this is something I have to do myself. And I will do it, and I won't let you get hurt by that bastard. She said the last part with an edge on her tone. Naruto couldn't help but feel flattered to hear that she won't let him get hurt, and she truly cared for him. So, with a happy smile, he also got up and wrapped his hands around her back to give her a hug, which caused her face to get nuclear red. After holding her for a while, he finally let her go and gave her his true smile. Thank you, Zenobia-chan. I'm a really lucky guy to have a friend like you, he said with a sincere tone. When Naruto said that, Zenobia couldn't help but feel happy to hear that he feels very lucky to have her as a friend. But she also felt a bit disappointed for some reason. She didn't know why, but a small part of her wanted him to think of her as more than a friend. But what more did she wanted him to think of her as? She still doesn't know. Despite her inner turmoil, she still gave him a cute smile which made even our dense idiot blush. Mustering up her courage, she held his hands and looked at him cutely. Now our poor knucklehead is blushing even harder. He doesn't know why, but when he looked at her, his heart started to pump at a very fast speed. For him, it felt like someone was trying to hammer his heart out of his chest. For Zenobia, it's the same but more intense. But she didn't back down, and kept staring at his sapphire blue eyes. Thank you, Naruto-kun, I am really happy to hear that you feel that way, she said before leaving his hands and quickly got out of the park to go to the Excalibur. Naruto once more froze on the spot. He didn't move for a few seconds before he slowly looked down with a red blush on his cheeks. Why? Why does my heart always feel like this? He then narrowed his eyes. Whenever I look at her, or think about her, I always feel something that I can't really explain with words. Just what is this that I'm feeling? He questioned himself. Before he could think further, he was interrupted by Shinten. Naruto, I have sent some people outside the barrier. Yes, the whole church is surrounded by a magical barrier which prevents other children from escaping the church. Are they from this church who's entering after finishing a mission or something? Shinten shook his head from the subconscious. No, their energy signatures are different. The energies I'm sensing are similar to the ones they call exorcist. But among them, one of their energy is not matching with the others. Naruto narrowed his eyes. How so? He asked. Well, the other energy I well to simply say, it's like a light. Naruto looked at the space in confusion. Light? Like actual light? He asked. Shiten put a hand into his chin and thought. To be honest, I'm not sure myself. And not only that, but if I'm sensing it correctly, it feels like very innocent and pure. Naruto blinked. Innocent and pure, huh? He then closed his eyes and shrugged. Well, I guess this is something that this world's people possess, which also shows how different they are from our world. Shiten gave a shrug of his own. True. But still, no matter how innocent or pure it is, it might pose a threat. So stay on your guard in case they attack, he said with narrowed eyes. Naruto gave him a nod. I will. Besides, even though I don't want to brag, but I'm not someone who they can mess with. If they fight, then I will happily kick their asses all the way to Sunday, Databeo, he said before looking at the direction where the unknown people were standing outside the barrier. He then clenched his fist and grew a determined expression. No matter what, this time, I will protect my precious people. He then looked down and started to think about Zenobia, her laughter, her joy, and her beautiful smile which warms his heart whenever he thinks about her. That smile, he wants to protect that smile, he wants to protect her no matter what. He thought determinedly before looking at the sun and pointed his fist. He smiled and vowed to himself to get strong so he could protect his precious people. After promising himself, Naruto decided to go to a small forest near the church where almost no one goes there. Before he exited the park, he sensed a person looking at him through the distance. It was none other than Alessio, who kept an eye on Naruto this entire time. Naruto internally groaned in annoyance before a light bulb appeared above his head. A foxy grin formed on his face before he quickly got inside the park and hid behind the grassy fence. Alessio got confused and tried to look closer through the binoculars, but he couldn't see anything, so he leaned forward to get a closer look before he put one of his hands on the concrete rooftops. But when he put his hand on it, he couldn't feel anything under his palm, so he moved his hand up and down to see if he was putting his hand in the right place. When he still couldn't feel anything, he decided to lean more before gravity kicked in and started to pull him downwards. At first, he didn't realize what was happening before he decided to look down and saw nothing but 30 feet height. He sweated for a moment before he slowly looked back and saw his feet barely touching the concrete rooftops. Before he knew it, he started to go downwards and started to frantically wave his hands and legs before he dropped his binoculars and quickly latched onto the edge of the rooftops for the sake of his life. Naruto snorted and chuckled lightly at seeing Alessio's poor way of spying. He shook his head in amusement before he formed a familiar cross sign. Shadow Clone Jutsu. He muttered the name before an exact copy of his appeared beside him with a puff of smoke. Chapter 18, Shadow Clone. The Shadow Clone looked at his creator and nodded, before he slowly got out of the park and started to walk randomly around the church. Alessio, who finally managed to pull himself up, panted heavily before he started to look at the Shadow Clone with a spare binocular that he kept inside his pocket. Both Naruto and his Shadow Clone snorted in unison. This guy has no talent when it comes to spying. I mean, come on, even an academy student can do 100 times better than this guy. The original Naruto thought with a sweat drop when he saw Alessio was almost about to fall once more, but somehow managed to save himself by quickly latching onto the chimney, like his life depended on it. Naruto just shook his head before he put his hands into his blue short jeans pocket and disappeared in a bluish-orange blur. Few seconds later, Naruto suddenly appeared with a blur like he had just teleported, and started to look around the small field which is currently covered by many trees and branches. The shadows of the branches and leaves covered the whole field, leaving only a little bit of sunlight to pass through. Naruto looked around and saw many kunais and shurikens littering around the field. Naruto gave an annoyed sigh. Looks like my clones had forgotten to clean the mess before dispelling, he said to himself. Seriously, you realized it now? Shouldn't you get the knowledge of their mess after they get dispelled? Shiten asked with curiosity and a bit of amusement. Naruto just shook his head. Actually, no. If I'm not focusing or my mind is somewhere else, I won't get the information of my clone's actions. Shiten raised an eyebrow. What do you mean, Naruto? He asked. Naruto decided to sit in the middle of the small field and closed his eyes to go to the same familiar subconscious. Shiten appeared in front of Naruto and sat in an Indian style. Naruto looked at him and nodded. The Shadow Clone Jutsu does return the information to the user that it gained, but not all of it. For example, if I tell my Shadow Clone to do a task like the tree walking exercise, I will get only the experience but not the knowledge or the memories of how it was done. I will gain the knowledge and memories if I clear my mind and focus on receiving the information after a clone gets dispersed. Although, I don't know why I don't get the knowledge and the memories, I'm certain that I get the experiences no matter what. Shiten looked at Naruto and nodded in understanding. I see, now I understand. No wonder why your brain doesn't explode when you use those shadow clones in battles. Cause think about it, if you fight an enemy with hundreds of clones, and if many of the clones disperse at once, then it would be like you were fighting and watching an enemy from many different perspectives, which might cause your brain to overload and shut your system permanently. Naruto widened his eyes and looked at Shiten in shock. Wait, shut down my system permanently? But why would that happen? He exclaimed loudly. Shiten put a finger on his chin and thought, before coming up with an easy explanation since Naruto won't be able to understand too complicated explanations. Even though Naruto is intelligent in his own right, he still doesn't understand many words because how he was abused in the past. Alright Naruto, I will try to explain as much as possible, so listen carefully. Naruto vigorously nodded his head and gave all his attention. Shiten gave him a nod and started to explain. Now imagine your brain as a tank that holds all the information inside. Naruto looked up and saw a white cloud forming at the top of his head, which showed him the images. Now imagine those information are going through a long pipe all the way to your memories. Inside the cloud, Naruto imagined a long pipe which is connected to his brain, and the information is passing through the pipe all the way to his memories. Now imagine, one shadow clone is using a sword against your enemy, and you on the other hand is using your fist. And now, you have two different perspectives and knowledge of the fight. Naruto imagined and nodded. Now imagine, the information looks like a file and it holds the knowledge and experiences that you have gained. Naruto imagined once more and nodded. Now your clone has a different file which holds different knowledge and experiences. So when it disperses, the clone's file goes all the way to your brain and waits for your current file to go through the pipe first. Normally, this wouldn't be any problem if you use clones less than 30. But if you use over 100 clones and if they get dispersed all at once, then your brain will get filled by all those clones' files and will block the entrance of the pipe, which will stop the files from entering your memory, and will cause your brain to blow up cause of the lack of space. Naruto's face immediately got pale at hearing what Shinten said. He then gave him an uneasy smile and asked in a scared tone. Then Shinten, why didn't it happen already? How the hell am I still alive? Naruto asked while shivering and cringing at thinking his brain getting blown up like a bomb and getting scattered around the ground. Shinten thought for a moment before he looked at him and scratched the back of his head. Well, I actually don't have an explanation for that. Maybe you were just lucky enough to not get killed. Naruto couldn't help but sweat drop. Yeah, maybe you're right. He then shook his head. We don't need to think about that now. For now, I will train and try to increase my chakra reserves as much as possible. We are still new to this world and who knows what kind of trouble might come. Shinten couldn't help but agree with that. You're right, but don't overtrain yourself, or else those guys might find out about your little secret. And just as you said, we don't know what kind of trouble we might need to face. Naruto gave him a nod. Don't worry, I won't, he said before disappearing from the subconscious. Naruto opened his eyes and formed the familiar cross-hand seal in front of his chest. Multi-shadow clone jutsu, he shouted, and with a puff of smoke, 5 clones appeared in front of Naruto and looked at him with a deadpan expression. Seriously, boss, you want us to do those chakra control exercises again? One of the clones exclaimed. Naruto looked at the clone and sighed. Look, I hate this just as much as you do, but we have no other choice. We need our chakra reserves to be big if we want to be ready for those threats that Shinten warned us about. The clones looked at each other and sighed. But boss, why do you always sit here while we climb the trees and do other chakra control exercises? Naruto looked at the clone in a deadpan expression. Seriously, you don't know why I always do this? The clone shook his head, which made Naruto's deadpan expression even more deadpan if it was possible. Seriously, you're my clone, for God's sake, you should know why I do this, he exclaimed. The clone scratched the back of his head in confusion, which made the other clone sigh. One of the other clones came closer to the clone and slapped the back of its head, which made the clone face plant it to the ground and pop out of existence. Naruto just sighed and told his clones to do the exercise while he sits in the middle and meditates to clear his mind and to increase the chakra reserves. While with Zenobia is still trying to lift the sword with all her strength, but the sword won't budge an inch. She sighed and decided to take some rest before she tried once more to lift the sword. But still no success. Zenobia left the handle of the sword and sighed. She then looked at her hands in deep thought. Why can't I lift the sword? I have trained for so long, and still. She then clenched her fist and gave a heavy sigh. I can't lift the sword no matter what. She then looked at her hands again. Just what am I missing? Naruto-kun has put his trust in me. He believed in me, and before she could finish her thought, something clicked in her mind. Believe! She widened her eyes and looked at the sword and then looked at her hands, then back to the sword and then back to her hands. She did that multiple times before she exclaimed. Believe! Yeah, that's it, it's believe. What I was lacking is belief on the God. That's the reason why I couldn't lift the sword. No, it's more like the sword didn't allow me to, cause I was lacking in beliefs on the God, she thought before looking at the sword and gulped in nervousness. She slowly approached the sword and moved her shaky hands to grab the hilt. But before she could grab it, boom! Suddenly she was blown away from the sword by an explosion that happened a few meters away from her, which caused her to fly all the way to a wall and crash into it. The moment she crashed into a wall, her eardrums started to ring and she couldn't even hear anything properly. Her vision started to get blurry and slowly she blacked out. Before the explosion, Naruto was still sitting in the middle of the field in a meditative stand. He was meditating for 2 hours before a tired clone came to him. Boss, I'm out of chakra and soon will dispel. The other clones also came and said the same thing in unison. Naruto didn't open his eyes but still replied. Okay, you all can dispel yourself now. It's too late anyway. When Naruto said that, every clone cried out in happiness before quickly dispelling at once. He felt a migraine in his head when all the clones dispelled. Naruto narrowed his eyes and started to rub his forehead in discomfort. Ouch, that actually hurts. What the hell just happened? He thought before opening one of his eyes and gritted his teeth in pain. Naruto, remember, you need to tell them to dispel one by one, or else that will happen every time you train with them. Even though your mind and spirit is old, your brain itself is still developing along with your body. Naruto sat in an Indian style and crossed his hands, while tilting his head to the side in confusion. But Shiten, didn't you say that I'm a half otsutsuki now? Shouldn't that give me some resistance from this headache? Naruto asked. Shiten just shook his head. No, Naruto, well actually it does, but just as I said, your body and your brain is still in a developing stage. You just need to wait a few more years to use the shadow clones effectively. Naruto rubbed the back of his head and sighed. You know, I'm missing my teenage body. I just wish I could grow up quickly. Shiten gave him a chuckle. Be patient, Naruto, be patient. Besides, you're doing very well with the training. I can sense that your chakra reserves have increased drastically. Naruto widened his eyes in excitement. Really, how much did it increase? Shiten put a finger on his chin and thought. Well, the amount I have sensed is very big. Like a 200-meter large pond which is 50 feet deep. Naruto's eyes widened in shock. What? That big? He exclaimed. Shiten nodded. Yes, that big. But before Naruto could say anything, boom! Chapter 19, Awakening of the All-Seeing Eye. Suddenly, he heard a huge explosion in a distance. Naruto widened his eyes and quickly got up to see where the explosion came from. Before he could use the body flicker, his senses suddenly flared up and he sensed at least over 50 people approaching the church. Naruto was a bit surprised at his certain senses, but he didn't care about it for now, and focused on sensing the people who were outside the barrier. Without thinking, Naruto quickly used one hand seal and closed his eyes to focus his senses. Unknown to Naruto, he instinctively pulsed his chakra towards his right eye and suddenly, veins started to pop up in the right side of his eye and he started to sweat while gritting his teeth in exhaustion. Suddenly, Naruto's vision has changed, which made him really confused. When he closes his eyes, obviously his vision gets black, but when he tried to use the senses his vision suddenly got transparent, and he could also see all the way around his body, like he could see all 360-degree angles. Huh! Whoa! I never knew that sensory people get this kind of vision. It's incredible. It's like I can see all the way around my body and wait, I can also see through objects, he exclaimed before he pulsed more chakra and suddenly, his vision started to zoom like a telescope, which he obviously doesn't know what it is. But his vision zoomed where he focused and saw something that made him even more confused. He saw many big winged creatures flying towards the church with a weapon on its hand. What is that? He then narrowed his eyes and tried to understand the nature of the weapon that the creatures were holding. The weapon that they are holding is glowing like a light. Shiten, did you by any chance sense those people with those other exorcists who were waiting outside the barrier? Naruto asked. Shiten shook his head and also looked at the sky with narrowed eyes. No, I haven't. They recently just appeared out of nowhere. Like they just teleported inside the barrier. Naruto snapped his eyes open and looked at his surroundings with deep thought. So I was right, this world has its own unnatural beings besides humans. That guy left a lot of explanations behind. He then pumped his fist into his palm and exclaimed angrily, I swear, I will shove that 1,000 years of death so far up in his ass so he won't be able to shit for centuries. He thought before Shiten interrupted him with a chuckle. Calm down, Naruto, you can do that later. Besides, I think you should take a look at your right eye. Naruto quickly calmed down and asked Shiten with a curious tone. Why, Shiten, is there something on my right eye? He asked, which he got more chuckles from the otsutsuki. No, there's nothing on your eye. In fact, it's your eye itself that I want you to check. Now Naruto got very curious, and decided to take one of his kunai and looked at himself through the reflection. When Naruto saw his reflection, he immediately dropped his kunai and stared into space with widened eyes and a gaping mouth. What he saw made him dumbfounded and shocked. In his right eye, he didn't have his normal sapphire blue eye. Instead, his right eye became pupilless blue lavender, with veins popping out of the right side. Naruto just stood there in silence, still comprehending about how the hell did he got the all-seeing eye, the Byakugan. After standing there in silence, he finally recovered from his shock and put his hand at the top of his right eye. This is the Byakugan. But how? Shiten just rolled his eyes and spoke from the subconscious. Did you forget, you're now a half otsutsuki? So it's pretty obvious why you got the Byakugan. Naruto just blinked his eyes and stared at the space with disbelief. And you didn't bother to tell me that I might awaken this eye? He exclaimed. This time, Shiten rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Ah, well, you thought I might tell you about this later, but I didn't expect you to awaken the Byakugan so early, at least not at this age. Naruto gave an annoyed sigh before he suddenly spotted the same exorcist and the person with that light energy standing outside the barrier. When Naruto saw the person, he blushed and immediately tried to close his eyes, but it was futile since he doesn't know how to turn off the Byakugan. The person who Naruto saw happens to be a beautiful young woman who looks to be in her 20s or 30s with blue eyes and brown hair. Her features stand out to be someone from Northern Europe and have the appearance of an actress. Her attire also looks like a nun outfit with a sword strapped around her waist. And apparently, Naruto accidentally saw something that would make any pervert die with a huge nose bleed. He saw her naked body with the help of the Byakugan's X-ray vision. Beside being disgusted at himself, he couldn't help but think that she is very hot. She has a small stomach with a thin waist and a curvy hip, not fat but a big ass, long legs and a DD cup breast. She was wearing a black bra and black panties, which made her more hot in Naruto's opinion. Naruto mentally slapped himself at having perverted thoughts like his pervy godfather Jiraiya. Man, I'm glad that pervy sage doesn't possess this eye, or else every woman's dignity would be in danger from that perverted old man. There would be no limits to what perverted things he could do. For example, he could sit in his hotel room while using the Byakugan to see two people having sex, which would give him even more ideas for his legendary books. Shinten chimed in with a perverted grin on his face. At first, Naruto didn't register what he actually said and just nodded his head in agreement. Yeah, you're right. He would definitely. Before he could finish his sentence, he finally registered what Shinten just said. Naruto's face immediately got red like a tomato, and he growled in annoyance. What the fuck, Shinten? I never expected you to act like that, he exclaimed loudly. Shinten just gave Naruto a blank stare. I'm a guy just like you, Naruto. And I think every guy is a pervert. Some of them are just very good at suppressing their impulses to fuck, and some of them just can't suppress their impulses and show their appreciation of women's bodies like they are advertising or something. Naruto blinked his eyes multiple times before chuckling, and rubbing the back of his head in embarrassment. Yeah, I guess you're right, he admitted with an awkward chuckle. They were silent for a few more moments before Shinten decided to break it. Naruto. You realize that we are under attack, right? Naruto and Shinten stayed silent for a few more moments before Naruto slapped his forehead. Damn it, I nearly forgot about that, he exclaimed once more before getting serious and looked at the person once more. But this time he didn't focus too much and stared at the person's face, who was visibly worried about something. Naruto narrowed his eyes before cracking his knuckles. Alright, shall we give them a visit and see what they want? Shinten chuckled and gave him a nod. Yeah, let's see what they want from the church. Naruto was about to use the body flicker technique, but before he could channel his chakra, he suddenly remembered something and widened his eyes in horror. Shinten, do you know where is the Excalibur? Naruto asked in a worried tone. Shinten got a bit confused at why Naruto would suddenly ask about the sword, but he answered anyway. It's inside the church, Naruto. Naruto's eyes widened even more before he quickly looked towards the church. He closed his left eye, and he unconsciously pulsed more chakra towards his right eye to zoom his vision. He kept zooming in his vision and ignored the battle between the exorcist and the unknown flying creatures with light-based weapons on their hands. He ignored the jolt of pain that he suddenly felt and kept zooming in his vision while seeing through the objects. The more he uses his Byakugan, the more it hurts. Suddenly, blood started to drop from his eye and he felt even more pain than before. But he still ignored the pain and kept looking around the church. After looking around the church for a while, he finally found the Excalibur. But around the Excalibur, there was a huge crater formed in the ground and it was burned. Like an explosion just happened and caused the crater to form. When Naruto saw the crater, he started to panic and frantically looked around the room. After looking for a while, he noticed a small crater formed on a wall which was a bit further to the crater around the Excalibur. He quickly looked at the small crater to see if the person he was looking for was there or not. When he found no one, he sighed in relief. She is not here, he thought, before he stared at the now very empty but messed up room with confusion. If Zenobia-chan is not here, then where is she? He thought to himself before he finally felt the intense pain and quickly closed his right eye while kneeling down to his one knee. It hurts, he shouted while rubbing his right eye to soothe the pain. Naruto! Stop sending chakra towards your right eye, or else you will bleed even more and soon you will lose your eyesight, Shinten warned while instructing Naruto how to close the Byakugan. After some more painful trials, he finally managed to close the Byakugan and took a very deep breath and sighed in relief. That hurts a lot. Hey Shinten, what the hell just happened? Naruto asked with a bit of confusion. Naruto, you have recently just awakened your Byakugan, and using it so intensely will cost your eyesight. You need to let it adjust to your chakra and to your brain cells naturally before you could use it so intensely. For now, go easy and don't use it for too long. Naruto nodded in understanding, before he stood up and used one hand seal to use the body flicker technique and disappeared in a yellow blur. Chapter 20. Unknown groups of exorcists want to help. Outside the barrier, the mysterious person with the exorcist is now looking at the church with worried expression. Few exorcists are trying to break through the barrier, but the barrier is surprisingly very strong. No matter what they throw at the barrier, either it's light bullets from the gun that they are holding, or the light swords. The weapons didn't even put a scratch on the barrier. One exorcist went to the concerned unknown person and gave her a bow. Sister Griselda, the barrier is surprisingly very strong. We can't even put a scratch on the barrier. The unknown person now named Griselda put a hand onto her mouth and gasped in horror. Oh my lord, if we can't break the barrier, then those poor children will die, she said with a sad tone. The exorcist got saddened at hearing Griselda's word. So some of them stopped whatever they were doing and put their hands together in a praying position and started to pray. Griselda and the others were about to pray too, but suddenly, Naruto appeared right in front of the barrier where some other exorcists were standing, and they immediately dropped their asses to the ground at seeing Naruto suddenly appearing like a yellow blur. Griselda and a few others gasped in surprise when they saw Naruto suddenly appear, like he had just teleported right in front of them. Naruto used the body flicker and appeared right in front of the barrier, where on the other side the unknown person and some exorcists are looking at him in surprise. Naruto cautiously looked at the people and the person with suspicion. Naruto wanted to use his emotional sensing ability to see if they had any ill intention, but unfortunately, the barrier is preventing him from sensing their emotions. Naruto's sensing abilities are still developing besides his body, so he cannot sense through barriers and determine if they are foes or allies. He also can't talk since the barrier also blocks any sounds outside to inside and inside to outside. So he did what he knew best. Hand signs. When he did the 3 years training with Jiraiya, he was forced to learn animal hand seals for jutsus and hand signs for human language, so he tried to talk to them using hand signs to see if they understands or not. Naruto used a couple of hand signs to ask a question. Who are you? At first, Griselda was shocked when Naruto just teleported right in front of them. But she quickly recovered when she saw Naruto trying to talk to them using hand signs. When she realized what kind of hand sign he is using, she answered him using the same hand signs but a bit differently. We are here to help, Naruto asked. Why would you help us? Griselda answered. Cause we found out this church is kidnapping other children, and they have one of our swords. Naruto nodded and asked another question. How would I know that you really want to help us? Griselda gave him a kind smile. Trust me, son, we only want to help, she said while raising her hands in the air in a peaceful manner. Reading body languages is not Naruto's specialty. But when it comes to facial expressions, Naruto can detect that very easily, so he stared directly into her lighter shade of blue eyes and saw nothing but truthfulness and kindness. Naruto didn't know how he should feel. Even though he can't sense their emotions, he knows who's an enemy when he sees one. And they don't look like one. Naruto, I say you help them to get in. I can see they are not enemies. Shiten spoke from his mind. Are you sure, Shiten? Should we trust them? Naruto asked a bit hesitantly. Shiten gave him a nod. Trust me on this one, Naruto. I can see they genuinely want to help. Naruto mentally gave a nod to Shiten and looked at Griselda, who was still raising her hands up. So with reluctance, he went closer to the barrier and used hand signs to tell Griselda to tell everyone to move away from the barrier. When she saw the hand signs and noticed what the sign meant, she gave him a nod and told everyone to move away from the barrier. Okay, Shiten, I have told them to move from the barrier. Now what should I do? Naruto asked. Shiten put a finger into his chin and thought. You need to use something that can pierce through this barrier, not something that can smash like your Rasengan. Naruto groaned in annoyance. Damn, this sucks. I could have used the lightning blade to pierce the barrier, but I need to train on the jutsu again, so that's out of the bag for now. Shiten thought for a while before a light bulb appeared at the top of his head. Yes, I think that would work. He thought to himself before asking Naruto a question. Naruto, you saw the Hyuga's gentle fist style, 8 trigrams palm technique, right? He asked. Naruto was a bit confused but nodded anyway. Good, now I want you to use that technique to strike into one single spot multiple times. Naruto couldn't help but give him a deadpan look. Are you serious, Shiten? He then pointed a finger at himself. What makes you say that I know the gentle fist art? He asked with a sarcastic tone. Shiten gave him a chuckle. Naruto, it's not that much different than your frog kata. Instead of doing an open hand strike using senjutsu chakra, you simply just have to strike one single spot multiple times with one finger while using your own chakra, Shiten explained. Naruto blinked. So basically, you're telling me to poke one single spot multiple times the way I do with my frog kata? Shiten nodded. Yes, exactly. Naruto didn't know if it would work or not, but he would at least try. He took a deep breath before walking towards the barrier and soon took a stance a few centimeters away from it. He positioned his right hand backwards in a thrusting motion, while positioning his left hand in front of his chest horizontally. Griselda and the others are watching this in curiosity, wondering what he is about to do. Without any warning, Naruto thrust his right hand and struck the barrier with his index finger. At first, nothing happened. Griselda and the others looked at Naruto with a sweat drop. Sister Griselda? What is this child trying to do? One of the female exorcists asked her with a confused tone. I don't know, she said while giving her exorcist a confused look before looking back at Naruto. With Naruto didn't know why, but when he struck the barrier with his right hand's index finger, he felt a tingling sensation on his finger, like something had just poured from inside out. He brought his finger closer to his face and stared at it for a few moments, before he positioned his left hand backwards to strike. With a shout, Naruto thrusted his left hand and struck the same spot with his index finger. And again, he felt that same tingling sensation that he felt before, but he didn't stop there. He struck again with his right index finger, and this time, the tingling sensation has increased. He ignored the feeling and kept striking the barrier with his left and right index finger at the same spot. While he was striking, he didn't notice that the tingling sensation he was feeling was actually him expelling chakra from his finger. Well, not expelling but more like injecting through the barrier. And when the chakra was injected through the barrier, on the other side, it looked very pointy like a small spear. Unconsciously, Naruto activated his Byakugan, and he started to thrust his fingers at an inhuman speed. He thrust his finger so fast that it looked like a blur. Unknown to Naruto, the more he thrust his finger at the same spot, the spot started to get thicker and wider, like when you're making a hole in a plastic. Suddenly, a small hole appeared at the spot where Naruto was striking and started to get bigger. When he thrust his left finger at the spot, the hole got bigger when the finger suddenly passed through the barrier. Now, the barrier can self-repair if a small damage has been done to the barrier. But if the damage is too big, then it won't be able to handle more damage and soon will disappear like a shattering glass. Shiten quickly noticed what type of barrier it is, and warned Naruto about its nature. Naruto, this barrier can self-repair and soon it will repair the small hole you made. Quickly, use an open hand strike at the hole. Naruto didn't say anything and just did what Shiten said. He used his right hand to deliver an open hand strike and soon, he struck the hole while unconsciously expelling a large amount of chakra from his palm, causing the barrier to stretch out even more and soon shatter into millions of pieces. Naruto dropped to the ground in one knee while breathing heavily. Whatever he did, he felt very exhausted after breaking the barrier. While he has more chakra to spare, his biceps and his 2 fingers are aching in pain. With Griselda, when she and the other exorcists saw what Naruto did, all of them dropped their jaws on the ground in shock and amazement. Except for Griselda and for some few exorcists. They didn't say anything and kept staring at Naruto, who suddenly collapsed to the ground in one knee while breathing heavily. When Griselda finally noticed Naruto's exhausted form, she quickly recovered from her shock and immediately got in front of Naruto while kneeling in one knee. She put one hand into his shoulder, and the other hand into his whisker cheek. She lightly rubbed it with her thumb, which caused Naruto to close his eyes and purr like a fox. At first, Naruto felt like he was in heaven. But when he finally noticed what was happening, he widened his eyes and moved away from her hand, while quickly looking away with a red cheek. When Griselda and some female exorcists heard him purr like a fox, they gave a squeal which made all the male cringe except for Naruto. But when Naruto slightly moved away and looked away in embarrassment, Griselda and some female exorcists stifled a giggle, thinking that he looked very cute. When the girls finally stopped giggling, Naruto slightly coughed into his hand to get rid of the embarrassment, which made all of them look at him in amusement. Naruto finally managed to suppress his blush and stared at Griselda, who stared at him back. They kept staring at each other for a few moments before Naruto gave a sigh. "Follow me, the church is over there," he said while pointing a finger towards the now almost destroyed church. Griselda saw where he was pointing and looked at him with a smile. "Thank you, son, we promise that we will save your friends from those fallen angels," she said while rubbing his head affectionately, which made him very calm for some reason. She then looked at her subordinates and nodded to them. They also nodded back before she looked at Naruto and gave him a nod as well, telling him that they will follow him to the church. Naruto nodded and quickly started to rush towards the church with only one thing on his mind. "I will save you, Zenobia-chan. Just wait for me a little longer," he thought before quickly increasing his speed, almost running like the speed of a bullet, which made Griselda and her subordinates shock and astonishment. Even though Naruto is clearly the fastest, the other people who are following him are no slouch and somehow managed to catch up. What if Naruto has otsutsuki karma seal in high school DxD? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.